Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was in Game of Thrones. Many know Robert's first, and only, legitimate child was stillborn. But what if that was wrong? What if the gods, namely the Shinigami, intervened at the last moment? What if the deity pulled a hero from his collection and placed it in the child? To become a hero of the Seven Kingdoms? Empowered to combat treachery? To bring peace to the world? His name? Naruto of House Baratheon. Welcome aboard! Chapter 11: The King Beyond the Wall. Euron Greyjoy walked aboard his ship, the renewed silence, with everyone around him looking away, not wanting to meet his form in the eyes. He didn't blame them. Even a man like himself, crazed as he was, cringing at the sight of himself when looking into a mirror or the ocean water. How a man like him survived that night, only the gods truly know the truth. But the gods, in their infinite mercy of saving his life, had cursed it with what was left of his broken body, causing him unyielding pain. The man's once young and wild-looking face was scarred and burned beyond measure, to the point where it didn't look remotely human. He had one good eye, and that was putting it lightly, showing only things in morbid color that changed every few seconds. Most of his teeth were gone, just enough that he could chew food. Soft food, mind you, but it was enough to sustain his damaged body. His left arm was missing at the shoulder, the right arm was mangled, deformed, and any sudden movement sent sharp pains beyond measure through his body. He couldn't even twitch one of his 3 remaining fingers without feeling like someone had stabbed him a couple hundred times with a sword. Euron had been reduced to wailing on one leg, as the other had been replaced by a wooden peg above knee, and had to walk with a crutch to properly counterbalance it. His torso was a mess of burns and scars from surviving the aftermath of his near-death at sea. The ribs were seeable if he was shirtless, and there was even a chunk of him missing from when a shark had bitten into his flesh at one point before he was found by a naive "I help others to be blessed by the 7 in the future" kind of fisherman. Many thought it was the gods who had allowed Euron to live through the horror that had nearly claimed his life when at sea. But it wasn't the gods, old or new, that saved him. Or the fisherman, who he killed when his body was healthy enough to take a life. No. It was his hatred. His hatred for the man who did this to him. Who crushed him so easily. Who destroyed his ship, his crew, and his body like the act was as easy as breathing. Euron Greyjoy wanted revenge. He didn't care about the Iron Throne, the Iron Price, the Dragon Queen, or anything else that was around him. The man wanted revenge for what that shit for a man did to him. It didn't matter if he was a king, high lord, lowborn, or a bastard of some whore. Euron Greyjoy wanted revenge, and he would claim it no matter the cost. But first, he needed to get his fleet ready to invade Westeros. His ungrateful bitch of a niece had taken almost all of the ships the Iron Islands had left. Fortunately, the Iron Islands was never short on trees. It had many trees. And trees produced wood, which he would need for his ships. He would amass a fleet beyond measure and destroy Westeros along with everything in it, until finally getting his deformed hand on the king's throat and choking the life out of him. And no one was going to stand in his way. King's Landing, Red Keep, small council chambers. "The king beyond the wall?" asked Naruto, with Varys nodding after explaining what had happened recently. "Yes. Mance Rayder. A former member of the Night's Watch. He went over the wall and became the king of the wildlings, your grace." According to Robb Stark, who received a message from his brother Jon Stark about the plan by the wildlings. Robb Stark has sent reinforcements, but he wishes our aid as well, due to the north being too massive even for his men to cover, with the chance of multiple groups of wildlings running around, said Varys while seeing Naruto groan. Father would have loved this, I bet. If he were still alive. A chance to do some fighting like he did during the rebellions. Maybe it would have helped get his fat ass back into shape, commented Naruto with a small smile on his face. Can we spare anyone to go to the wall? Whether our own troops or volunteers who wish to become members of the Night's Watch, asked Tyrion, knowing there were plenty of people in King's Landing and around the city who could be recruited for the wall. Volunteers aren't the issue, Lord Hand. There is always an abundance of people who will go to the wall. Whether to avoid being executed for their horrible crimes or to feel like they are receiving a glorious sense of fulfillment in fighting to keep the wildlings out of the rest of the 7 kingdoms. The issue, I'm afraid, is getting trained men ready for the battle that is surely to come, that the Night's Watch might not be prepared for, and the time to train new volunteers is sadly something we do not possess right now, said Varys, knowing training men to fight took time and it just wasn't possible given the news they just received. We can still send men. The defense of the wall concerns all of the 7 kingdoms of Westeros. Not just the north. The north provides the bulk for the most part, but it doesn't mean they have to carry the weight alone. They shouldn't. Send word to all houses in the 7 kingdoms. Both major and minor. Let's see who will answer the call to defend the 7 kingdoms from an invasion of the wildlings, said Naruto with very nodding. On another topic, Lisa Arryn and her son Robin have arrived despite one fighting back, and the other screaming for his mother to do something, said Varys while Naruto looked from him to Qyburn sitting calmly in his chair among the members of the small council. Ordinarily, a Grand Maester would sit where he was right now, but the man had proven himself incompetent in his work. Not to mention his crimes against the crown and his obligations as a Maester period didn't help him either. The Citadel had decided not to send a new Maester as Grand Maester in his place, whether out of some measure of defiance against the crown, or fear of the next Grand Maester being exactly like Pycelle. Not all Maesters, Grand, Arch, or normal ranked Maesters were considered good people, with some having questionable hands won them. Ones that touched people in places that should not be touched by them at all. Just how many questionable Maesters were at the Citadel right now and in high places of influence was proving to be a growing concern for the king, since it might explain why they refused to send an official replacement. No matter. So long as Qyburn proved his worth and didn't have such secret vices, Naruto would let almost everything the man did slide, within reason. Are you prepared to examine the boy and give a proper assessment, Qyburn? You came highly recommended with your sharp mind and skills as a former Maester by several people. One being a healer from the north who married the Warden of the North, said Naruto while Qyburn gave a subtle nod. I am your grace. While I no longer possess the chains of a Maester, it doesn't mean I have lost my skills as one. I spent many years learning new things. Expanding my mind to see what others could not or would not see out of some sense of it being sinful. Rest assured, your grace, my assessment will be accurate, detailed, and beyond question when it is finalized, said Qyburn, who was grateful for everything the king had done, and what the other formerly warring houses had done for him. He had been a prisoner at Harrenhal at one point. Surrounded by Gregor Clegane's and Amory Lorch's bannermen before Tywin Lannister came with his men to secretly subdue the Mad Dog. When Tywin found him, it was clear to Qyburn that the intimidating Lord of House Lannister knew he shouldn't be imprisoned and suffering the way he had when under the care of House Clegane. So, when Tywin set his plan in motion to subdue the mountain along with all his men, Lannister bannermen got the knowledge seeker out of his cell to a healer of their own before heading for King's Landing. After arriving in large city, Qyburn was in love with it in every sense of the word, and soon met with the party from the north. At first, he was cautious given how the north and the west had been on shaky ground from his understanding of the war between the two. But eventually, he got to meet Robb Stark's wife, who was a foreign woman and healer from Volantis. They had talked, sharing medical theories, ideas, and experiences in healing other people with their skills. When Naruto had summoned him to the small council chambers, Qyburn wasn't sure what to expect of the king or what the man was planning to ask of him. Still, when the king summons you to the small council chambers to meet him, you don't say no, or show up late. When Naruto had informed Qyburn of the situation in great detail regarding Lady Lisa of the Vale, the older man saw this a golden opportunity to get in the king's good graces. It was a chance to be connected to the most powerful man in Westeros and being given a chance to once again conduct experiments that, while questionable, would possibly help others in the future. So, Qyburn was made the newly made title Master of Knowledge on the small council, which was similar to a Grand Maester. The difference being Qyburn was tasked with expanding their knowledge of things. Not just relying on what already known, but to take it and go beyond the boundaries set when the time was right. Before he could even do his old experiments or new ones, his plans had to be approved by the king. Not to mention detailing the purpose behind the experiments, what is required, and the end result despite them being successful or not. Good. Tyrion, I leave this in your hands, the hands of Lord Tyrell. You both will handle this while I handle other things. It will keep anyone from secretly believing this is some scheme to remove a future ruler from the Vale. Prince Oberyn, I need to have a word with you in private. If the rest of you will excuse us, said Naruto with everyone, except Prince Oberyn leaving the room. Something on your mind, your grace? Asked Prince Oberyn while Naruto sighed. I need your advice on something, Oberyn. Nothing kingly, so you can drop the whole need for politeness, answered Naruto with Oberyn nodding. What advice do you need, my old friend? Asked Oberyn with concern, since the two had fought against each other, but still respected one another in the past. Added the justice the king helped provide for his family helped too. If you could, would you marry all the women you have ever been with? Asked Naruto with Prince Oberyn looking at him with a hint of confusion. I think the 7 kingdoms would be unable to handle so many queens ruling beside me, joked Prince Oberyn while Naruto smirked. True. Not to mention, I don't think the Red Keep has enough space for several thousand queens each wishing to one with the most authority when you aren't around, said Naruto with Oberyn chuckling. Is this in regards to Varys and his remark on how you should marry Daenerys Targaryen despite the fact you were courting Marjorie Tyrell? Asked Oberyn at last when he saw how serious Naruto was being. I like Marjorie a lot. Hell, I might go so far as to say I love her, said Naruto calmly. But this issue with Daenerys Targaryen is making the idea of marrying Lady Marjorie difficult, remarked Prince Oberyn, since he thought as much. Could I marry Lady Marjorie and Daenerys Targaryen if called upon for the good of the 7 kingdoms? Would the 7 kingdoms, its lords, and the small folk support my actions if I did? Asked Naruto while seeing Prince Oberyn thinking things over in his mind. Well, you won't get any complaints from the people of Dorne if you did. A man who can love multiple women is not considered bad in our eyes, remarked Oberyn while Naruto rolled his eyes. I know Dorne wouldn't have a problem. But I'm asking if others would. The North? The West? The East? Remember, not all of them love my house. Nor House Targaryen for that matter. House Tyrell has quite a few enemies or rivals who might seek to exploit this to their advantage, said Naruto with Prince Oberyn nodding. There is also the issue of which woman would be the queen with the final authority if you aren't around. Not to mention the line of succession, remarked Prince Oberyn while Naruto groaned at the thought, knowing such an issue could cause a lot of problems. What do I do, Oberyn? I think I really love Marjorie. She's smart, funny, has a sharp wit, and isn't one of those high ladies who expects everything be handed to them, said Naruto while Prince Oberyn smirked. Not to mention she has a wonderful body, my friend. The way she looks at you, it is clear the idea of being fucked by you is not considered unappealing. I'm actually surprised the two of you aren't secretly fucking right now since this courting started, said Oberyn with his smirk increasing. That aside, what should I do about Daenerys Targaryen? From what I have heard, she is indeed beautiful in her own way. She is just like Marjorie and will not act like some weak highborn woman expecting to be married to some high lord. I don't know what to do, my friend. I'm torn between my heart and my duty as king in a way I never thought was possible, said Naruto with Prince Oberyn looking at him with sadness. On one hand, he could marry Marjorie Tyrell. They would not doubt be happy together. They would have children. Love. All the good things. But if Daenerys Targaryen came along and started a war? That very happiness would be ruined faster than a Lannister spends gold. If the king managed to marry Daenerys Targaryen to prevent an all-out war, chances are the two would find a way to love each other. A rocky relationship at first, much like all arranged marriages would be when they start off without a foundation to work with. Still, Oberyn knew Naruto would try to make it work, and eventually love Daenerys while also producing children as a result. But it could also earn him the scorn of the Tyrells. A powerful house to be sure, and they could let their scorn be known from one end of the 7 kingdoms to the next. It would risk dissent. Open rebellion like King Robert did when it came to Lyanna Stark. Granted, it wouldn't be successful if Daenerys Targaryen unleashed all 3 of her dragons, but the Prince of Dorne knew there were probably ways around that issue. In the end, the risk of another war and countless deaths would arise from this scorn. It was an increasingly difficult situation. I can't say for certain, my friend. If it were me, I would simply fuck them both and see which one wishes to stay after learning I have been with both of them, said Oberyn with Naruto sighing again. Honestly, Oberyn, must you always think with your cock instead of your brain when it comes to these types of situations? Asked Naruto while Prince Oberyn just laughed. It has helped me this far in life, your grace, said Oberyn while Naruto just sighed. That's because your lovers don't dare try to cut your cock off in retaliation, commented Naruto with Prince Oberyn laughing again. Mostly because it was true. SO City of Meereen. I see. So, the stories of the usurper's son are indeed true, said Daenerys to her captain of the second sons Dario Naharis, who was nodding at her words. Yes, your grace. I never fought him myself in the fighting pits, but I know if the two of us did fight, he would have won. The man has even traveled with the Second Sons for a time and even joined up the Golden Company, answered Dario while having heard of Naruto Baratheon by his nickname Kage and shivered in fear at the name. And what is your opinion on how to deal with him should it ever come to an all-out war with Westeros? Asked Daenerys while Dario thought for a moment. In all honesty, my queen, I feel war should be avoided with this man, said Dario while Daenerys was a bit surprised by his response. If this is about numbers, my dragons can compensate for that. Not to mention there are houses in Westeros still loyal to mine, countered Daenerys with Dario nodding. No one is disputing that, my queen, but Naruto was said to be a master when it came to being the battlefield tactician. Rumor has it, the man won a battle against a rival group of 2,500 sellsword group while possessing only 300 men from the Golden Company. He lost only 25 men when the dust finally settled, said Dario while Daenerys was surprised to hear this. And the 2,500 men? How many survived? Asked Daenerys while Dario made a noise. None, my queen. If the rumors are true, Naruto ordered them all the remaining men put to the sword. From what I heard about the rumor, the man learned these 2,500 men had sacked a small, yet growing city named Dryast a week before the battle, answered Dario while Daenerys frowned. I am not familiar with city of Dryast? Why isn't there some record of it? Asked Daenerys while Dario frowned further. Because those 2,500 men didn't just sack it, my queen. They burned it down. They killed the men, raped the women, both in regards to some of the children, and sold what was left to the slave trade for a profit. When Naruto learned of this when taking prisoners and he overheard some of them talking about it, the future king of Westeros went on a rampage on all of the prisoners. He apparently had them all killed slowly while making each one confess as all of their crimes they did until there was nothing left to confess and they lost their heads afterwards, said Dario while shivered again since he had heard the story about Naruto when while rising through the ranks of the Second Sons. It was one of the main reasons why they never crossed paths with the Golden Company when Naruto was with them. I see, said Daenerys while her face had a small shade of green on it. As did Ser Jorah and Ser Barristan, but they all agreed the men who committed such sins got what they deserved. All I would suggest at this point, my queen, is not make an enemy out of someone who can be that ruthless to his enemies. You may have 3 dragons, but there is a chance the king of Westeros has found a way to deal with them should we start a war, said Dario while Daenerys thought things over in her mind. Do you believe his words written in his message to promote an alliance are false? To lure me into a trap, asked Daenerys while Dario was again thinking over what he knew of Naruto and the rumors to see what was the most likely truth. From what we know, the Seven Kingdoms has recently acquired peace thanks to the king delegating peace talks with the North and the West. They don't want a war right now and I think the king doesn't want one either, said Dario since he had asked some of the sea merchants that did business with both continents to learn what they knew. For the moment at any rate. By the time we set out for Westeros, things could be much different, commented Ser Jorah while Dario nodded. But I think the king is being honest with you. He does not like liars from what I have heard, and those on the small council have apparently been told to give him all forms of news regardless if it is good or bad. All that he asks of them is they be honest when they tell him the information, said Dario while Daenerys was impressed by that since most advisors groveled or whispered half-truths into the ears of ruler to influence things from the shadows. So, I should open a dialogue with him, questioned Daenerys with all 3 men nodding that she should at least consider it. He doesn't have to be our enemy, your grace. Even if there is some history between your 2 houses, it does not have to continue, offered Ser Barristan while Daenerys frowned at his words. His father rebelled against mine. His father killed my brother Rhaegar. Do you honestly expect me to let such a thing slide, Ser Barristan? To ignore those who willingly chose to side with the usurper? Should I ignore House Stark? House Lannister? House Baratheon? House Aaron, questioned Daenerys while angry at the usurper for his transgressions. They had their reasons, your grace, commented Ser Barristan. If that were true, you would have sided with them at the time, countered Daenerys with Ser Barristan looking sad. There were times I wish I had my queen, admitted Ser Barristan to the shock of the woman beside him. And yet you stayed. Why? Asked Daenerys with Ser Barristan sighing. Because I was hoping to protect the future of your house. Prince Rhaegar was nothing like his father. Your father. The Mad King had burned people alive. He did horrible, if not unspeakable things under his rule when the madness took him. The Kingsguard do not judge a king for his actions. Only protect him within the boundaries of our oath when we become a member. With the prince, I saw House Targaryen had a suitable ruler next in line to replace the Mad King. But the war led by Robert Baratheon put an end to such a moment after the prince was slain at the Trident, said Ser Barristan, while Daenerys just sat there mulling over his words. Even still, the usurper's son has no right to sit on the Iron Throne, said Daenerys with Ser Barristan smiling slightly. Many said the same about your father after the madness took him. Some even feared your brother would develop the same madness and was not worthy of the Iron Throne. Some may believe you shouldn't either. Whether out of that similar fear or something else entirely, said Ser Barristan while Daenerys scowled at him. I am not my father. I possess no such madness, exclaimed Daenerys sharply while she glared at Ser Barristan. I know your grace, but the same could also be said for the current king of Westeros. He is not his father just as you are not yours, countered Ser Barristan with the man seeing the queen he swore to serve look away with eyes filled with conflict on what to do. Prepare a message for the king of Westeros. We will see how far this dialogue with this man goes and if I should form an alliance with him, said Daenerys while Ser Barristan nodded. There is another thing, your grace. Word has reached us of a large fleet sailing towards us with the sigil of the Kraken, said Dario while Yora and Ser Barristan stiffened since they knew the sigil well. The Iron Islands. House Greyjoy. Ironborn, said Ser Yora knowing his house had been a target in the past by them. Led by House Greyjoy. Plunderers and pirates of the worst kind, said Ser Barristan with Daenerys frowning. You believe this fleet is coming here for us? Asked Daenerys with Dario nodding. It is possibly your grace. The Ironborn are known for paying the iron price as they call it to obtain what they want. My guess is they see you as a target that is too tempting not to take for their own end. I would even go so far as to say your enemies within the Free Cities hired the Ironborn to weaken your position, said Dario while Daenerys scowled at this since the issue with the Sons of the Harpy was growing and were trying to remove her as queen, simply because she wanted to remove slavery, which they called a tradition, and was considered sacred in their eyes. As if slavery could be considered a sacred tradition. Double the guards along the port. Have them look for any suspicious ships and any with the sigil of the Kraken or anything resembling one. Make sure they know what to look for so we don't have false alarms, commanded Daenerys firmly. At once, my queen, said Dario while moving to alert their forces of the arriving force. Depending on what this fleet did next, it would not end well for the Ironborn. The Wall sometime later. Robb, exclaimed Jon while hugging his fellow Stark tightly, and the two men laughed at seeing each other after so long. You look good. A bit bruised and maybe a tad thin, but still healthy, remarked Robb while looking Jon over. The food at the Wall and over it is not much in terms of taste or quantity, Robb, said Jon with a small glare while Robb just laughed. I'm sorry, Jon. I couldn't help it. How have you been? Your letters stopped coming for a while and I feared something happened to you, said Robb while Jon smiled lightly. It did. And I'm sorry I didn't write more. I heard about the war and didn't want to distract you with my time at the Wall. It's not as glamorous as people said when we were kids, said Jon while telling Robb of his time here and how he wasn't exactly welcome at the Wall. I'm sorry to hear that. You are always welcome at Winterfell. Whether it's just to visit or get some new recruits, said Robb with Jon smiling though it lost much of its life behind it. I'm a marked man, Robb. I know I mentioned as much in my letter I sent you, said Jon with Robb nodding knowing a certain First Ranger hated the legitimized Stark with a cold passion. Hell, the wildlings treated him better. And they hated members of the Night's Watch simply being members. Do you want me to talk to Thorne? Perhaps he will be more receptive to the authority of the Warden of the North, asked Robb while Jon shook his head. No. It would make it worse. I can see it now. Alliser calling me a coward because I had my half-brother talk to him about making my life easier here at the Wall. He would see it as an insult and make my life worse because of what would consider an interference on how men of the Night's Watch are trained, said Jon knowing Alliser would just use what Robb suggested as a means to turn more members of the Night's Watch against the newly legitimized bastard. For a Stark complains to his High Lord family because life on the Wall was too hard to handle. Oh yeah, that will certainly win them over with those among their ranks who came from absolutely nothing when they first arrived here. Unfortunately, you are right. I don't know what to tell you, Jon. I want to help you, but my options here are limited, said Robb with Jon nodding. Sometimes I wonder if it was wrong to take the black That maybe I acted too rashly in order to appease father, and in some way, maybe I wanted to make your mother happy that I was gone so she wouldn't hate him anymore, said John with Rob grimacing since he knew his mother never liked him and sadly for all the wrong reasons. Listen, John. There is something I have to tell you. Something I swore never to tell another person, even you until the time was right, said Rob while John looked at him now and frowned. Tell me what? Asked John while Rob sighed. A secret. One so massive that it could tear the 7 kingdoms apart. I will tell you all about it later in private, but in short, it is about your mother, and the promise she made to my father, said Rob while John's frown increased. How do you know about this secret? Asked John while Rob looked away. I learned about it by accident. From father when I was younger naive lad. Father made me promise not to tell anyone else, and until recently at the twins after the failure of the Red Wedding, I kept it. Bran, Rickton, Arya, Sansa, and even Mother don't know this secret. When we have time alone, I will tell you everything about it down to the very last detail. But know this, the secrets kept from you by Father were not meant to hurt you, John. It was done to protect you from those who would want you dead if they had learned the truth. People inside and outside of the North would have wanted your life to end, said Rob before walking away and leaving John stunned. What could he mean? And what is it that he revealed to others at the twins, thought John with his curiosity rising with the confusion. Hey! John, exclaimed Sam while walking over to John. Hi Sam. It seems you were right about Rob coming to provide aid to the wall, said John with Sam nodding. If there is one thing I know, it is people, John. You talk about them a whole lot with love and affection, it is only natural they would love you back. I knew if your brother Rob were asked to provide help, he would answer it. He is your brother and the warden of the North after all. Not to mention the leader of a house and soon-to-be father. The last thing he would want is for his lands, his family, and his future child from being butchered by wildling, said Sam since he knew how normal people think after watching them. Just because he couldn't swing his sword properly like the other members of the Night's Watch, didn't mean Sam Tarly was incompetent at everything. Come on. The sooner we can plan a proper defense with the new men and supplies we now have, the better chance of fighting of Mance Rayder's army, said John knowing there was no rest for them, as they had to plan for the attack, train the new recruits, and other duties surrounding the wall. Did your brother say if he found the wildling attack party you were with before coming back here? Asked Sam while John shaking his head. No. This group doesn't want to be found and the North is big. The odds of finding them if they stay hidden is extremely low. Our one advantage is I killed their warg. Without him, they can't scout ahead to know about the additional forces and northern houses now looking for them. Though they will probably see something is amiss with the additional soldiers of different houses moving around the north. It might delay them just enough that we can either capture their group or stop Mance's frontal attack entirely, said John knowing the key to Mance winning was sheer numbers in the front and the sneak attack with still an impressive force from behind. King's Landing at the moment. So, Lord Qyburn, young Robin is not Lord Aaron's son? Asked Naruto while Qyburn nodded toward the king. Yes, your grace. I have studied the art of bloodline traits that family members of the past would pass down to the next generation. It was necessary when I was a maester and I was conducting my experiments from my early years. From the overall features Lord Aaron was described to possess in his younger years thanks to Lord Tywin providing them, as well as additional forms of recorded documentation of the man, I carefully compared them to young Robin's features down to the last detail. Sadly, the boy was making things difficult to do my work when performing my examination, and I had to sedate him. I hope you do not mind, your grace, said Qyburn with Naruto waving the apology off. As long as he is alive and unharmed, Qyburn. Now, you mentioned your examination has revealed the boy is not Jon Arryn's son, said Naruto with Qyburn again nodding. Yes, your grace. The boy's features are nothing like his supposed father. I see features of his mother, but none of Jon Arryn's own. When compared to the form of the former Lord Baelish, I saw many of the man's features in him. They both possess a thinly form, similar hair color, and facial features that in time will show the boy is a Baelish. Not an Arryn, said Qyburn, who was asked by Naruto to write up an official report of all his findings in extreme detail. No. Not a Baelish. He is a bastard. Inform the Lords of the Vale by Raven what we have learned. Inform them I am sending a full copy of your findings and the report to them by an armed escort so there are no doubts, ordered Naruto with Qyburn nodding. I will write up a copy of my findings immediately, Your Grace, said Qyburn with Naruto nodding. Anything else? Asked Naruto with Varys raising his hand to indicate there was one more issue to address. News from the north, Your Grace. Robb Stark has ordered the houses in the north to send their forces on patrols in their given territories to find the wildling attack party that, according to Jon Stark, is to be key to the future invasion against the wall by wildlings, said Varys while Naruto nodding. As expected. Without the attack from behind, the wildling army trying to get through it from the front won't have that much success, said Naruto with Varys nodding. Sadly, the patrols have found nothing, Your Grace. Lord Stark has fears that his men, while in position to defend the wall, will still need more, and is requesting the crown send additional troops to further repel the invasion, said Varys while Naruto frowned at this situation. We sent some men already. Not to mention some supplies the wall no doubt desperately needs right now. What more can we send? Questioned Tyrion while Naruto thought for a second. Me, answered Naruto with everyone looking at him in shock. Your Grace, questioned Mace Tyrell. I will go. I will help the north defend itself from the wildlings. A king who does not fight for his kingdom, much less a king who rules over all seven, does not deserve to be a king, said Naruto standing up, and was immediately met by protest by his small council. Your Grace, while I respect your decision, you put your life at risk. Without an heir of any kind, the seven kingdoms will have no king, protested Mace Tyrell with worry for the man who had all but won his daughter's heart. I agree with Lord Tyrell on this one, Your Grace. If you die without an heir to carry on your name and rule, the seven kingdoms would have no central power to govern them. The seven kingdoms would ultimately break apart and will war with each other for the right to rule over everyone. Such chaos during this delicate time when winter is no doubt fast approaching endangers the realm, Your Grace, added Varys while worried that the one king worthy of the Iron Throne in a long time was at risk of being killed and without a properly trained and groomed heir to keep the stability of the seven kingdoms alive. And what would you have me do, Varys? Lord Tyrell? Leave Robb Stark, the North, and the people at the mercy of the wildlings? If what Robb Stark's letter stated was true, this Mance Rayder has an army greater than most major houses have under their command. Over 100 wildlings from what we have been told. The only thing keeping them from marching south against us is the wall, and even that might not be enough if the Night's Watch are attacked from behind. I will not allow this king beyond the wall to cross the wall with his army. Not without a fight, exclaimed Naruto while slamming his hand down on the table and glaring at the members of the small council. At least take a sizable force with you to further aid the North and the Night's Watch, nephew. The more men under your command, the better your odds of coming back alive, added Tyrion, since he cared more about his nephew's life over the issue of the crown being in jeopardy. His nephew had been good to him. The crown before his nephew's return, not so much. He's not wrong, Your Grace. While I am against you going, I know from my personal experiences dealing with Baratheon men that they don't listen no matter how much you say otherwise, said Lord Davos Seaworth with Naruto smirking at him. I have no intention of going alone. I might be a Baratheon, but I'm not stupid. Get as many of the Kingsguard as we can spare to come with me. I think it is high time this king beyond the wall met the king of Westeros, said Naruto with a grin on his face. And I shall accompany you to the wall, Your Grace. I fear my skills have been getting a tad rusty since my arrival here at King's Landing. Fighting an army of wildlings will no doubt make them sharp again, said Oberyn with a grin on his face to match the king's own. Good. I miss seeing you fight, Prince Oberyn. It will be good to see it again outside of my own memories, said Naruto while the two laughed and prepared for the march north into battle. All the while, Lord Tyrell looked at Tyrion, Qyburn, Davos, and Varys with worry since they knew the king was in danger no matter how skilled he was in battle. Or had an army to protect his sides and back. The point tip of a sword, a spear, or even an arrow fired by some lucky bastard of a wildling could still kill a man. I have to do something. The future of the seven kingdoms and House Tyrell are at stake here, thought Mace, and decided to speak to his daughter in the hope she would be able to talk some sense into the king. If only his mother was here. She could set this whole issue straight with a small speech with her sharp tongue and mind. King's bedroom. Naruto was going to depart in the morning. It had taken long hours to prepare, assemble the Kingsguard en masse, and make additional preparations beyond that. He had seen his cousin Shireen off to bed, posted some competent Kingsguard to protect her while he was gone, and was able to convince Gendry to stay in King's Landing to keep up with his studies to one day be legitimized as a member of their house. Naruto could tell that poor Gendry had been fearful of him being killed since the king was the only power in the land now with the means to make the bastard into a legitimized Baratheon. Not only that, but the two bonded during their time together, even had Gendry take up sparring, and it showed the slightly younger half-brother had quite the talent for it due to his upper body strength. They talked about many things, bonding over favorite types of food, wine, the women. Gendry blushed when that came up, and the world as Naruto had seen it during his travels throughout it. A good bonding experience between brothers. I knocked the door and it quickly opened before shutting to reveal one Marjorie Tyrell wearing a very sensual-looking nightgown. "Lady Marjorie?" asked Naruto while Marjorie blushed at the intense look he was giving her. "Your Grace," said Marjorie while approaching him despite the shiver running down her spine from the look he was giving her. "What are you doing here?" asked Naruto, though he had a good idea given her state of attire being very enticing. "My father tells me that you are mobilizing for a march to the north." "To the wall," said Marjorie while Naruto laughed at that. "Of course, he did. No doubt fearful I will die and you not being married to me ends the future union of our houses. As a result, you don't become queen, and no child of ours is born with House Tyrell once more losing a lot of pull with the king dead," said Naruto with Marjorie smiling lightly at his words, which were true, and described the man of House Tyrell perfectly. The man went on a long rant in front of Marjorie in her room about how the king could be killed by the wildlings. How without a wife for a queen and an heir to his name, the king legacy would be destroyed in a short time, and House Tyrell would look like a joke as a result. When it was all over, Tyrell had to drink several cups of wine before he told her to see the king and convince him to not go to the wall to aid the north in defending it from the wildling invasion. Not because he hated the north or the Starks. No. He wanted the king here. Safe. With his daughter ruling beside the Baratheon and have a prince or princess either born or conceived. My father was hoping I could convince you to stay. Of course, he hasn't seen you train or fight. I have seen you train and your skills are impressive. Still, I must confess that I too share in his worries, but not the means obtaining a crown as queen. Rather, I worry about you not coming back, and we can't spend more time together," said Marjorie, as she walked toward him and saw the king smile. "Which is why you are here, correct?" asked Naruto while Marjorie smiled and was now right in front of him. "I know I can't change your mind about going to the wall. I would be a foolish woman to believe I could stop a member of House Baratheon from changing his ways. So I won't fight it. Or you. I don't want to fight, but rather, I was hoping a request could be made," offered Marjorie while she looked up at the man with a sensual smile on her face. "A request? What kind of request does the lady of House Tyrell wish to make with me?" asked Naruto with Marjorie having a semi-mischievous look on her face. "A request any woman in my position would ask and be honored if you would grant it," said Marjorie before she disrobed right in front of him and revealing herself in all of her naked glory. Damn, thought Naruto while his eyes widened at the sight of such beauty. I know what I am asking for is no doubt selfish of me. Maybe, in some way, I am asking too much too fast, but in this one moment in time, I do not care. I humbly request your grace, that you grant my heart's desire in finding out what it is like to be made love to by a king. By you, said Marjorie while grabbing the man's shirt and leaning in close, and kissing him on the lips. And in that moment, all restraint Naruto had felt in wanting to claim Marjorie went out the window. The passionate side of Naruto from the Baratheon in him ignited with a fury and inferno beyond measure. He wanted Marjorie. Ever since they met, talked, and had formed a strong foundation to easily marry before now. But he restrained himself. Why? Because he had to be sure this union was going to work. He also had to be sure that if marriage did happen, nothing was going to ruin shortly after it started. His own father and mother had hated each other beyond measure. Only tolerating the other for the good of the realm and because they needed the other for so long until one saw the opportunity to kill the other to take complete control of everything. Naruto didn't want that with his marriage. Hence his restraint. Which was odd given how restraint and Baratheon didn't go hand in hand. But now? Now the restraint was removed. This beautiful, smart, intelligent, and naked woman kissing him had made any form of rational become silenced. All he wanted to do now was get out of his own clothing, throw Marjorie on the bed, and fuck her until the sun came up high in the late morning. And he would. If we do this, I will ruin you for any other man. I swear on the old gods and the new, you will never be satisfied by any other man after tonight, warned Naruto while the woman's hands removed his shirt and went to this pants. I consider that to be a good thing, your grace. To never know a better lover than a king is something I can live with. After all, who better to satisfy me beyond measure than the king himself, countered Marjorie in a lustful, hungry tone, as she undid Naruto pants, and gasped at the sight of the male appendage between his legs in awe. Last chance to back out. To marry a high lord and have him in your bed. To still find some measure of satisfaction. Once you are with me, there is no going back, warned Naruto once again, since he was not inexperienced in the ways of being with a woman or even multiple women at once. He had traveled the world. Traveled to Essos, Bravos, Lys, and many other areas of the world to expand his knowledge in all things. During that time traveling, Naruto had spent many nights in the arms of a woman, or two, or three, or that one time he had managed to satisfy a total of 6 women in one night. Granted, the last one had drained the man of his stamina considerably, but damn was it worth it. And the women he had been with never complained. All he asked was they take moon tea afterwards, and made sure they did, the next morning, to ensure none of them had his child. While he wanted a child, Naruto wasn't like his father, who during the boy's time when growing up in Essos, had fathered 20 bastards with multiple women, and cared for none of them. Naruto wanted to have a child with a woman he could love and marry, so the idea of having a bastard was not appealing to him. If I had known just how empowered you were down there, my love, I would have been more aggressive in my approach to sleep with you, remarked Marjorie while Naruto had a proud smirk on his face, since women had always been impressed with his cock. I could say the same for you and your beauty. If I had known just how stunning you looked without clothing, I would have ripped said clothing off of you sooner before I claimed your body on this very bed. Repeatedly, said Naruto with desire burning in his eyes while stepping out of his pants. So, let us make up for lost time in that regard, said Marjorie before she held onto him by his broad shoulders and kissed him some more. I agree, said Naruto before his hands went to her hips and finally her firm ass with a firm squeeze that made the woman of House Tyrell moan. Claim me, whispered Marjorie with desire. Gladly, whispered Naruto before he threw the woman onto his bed and jumped right on top of her. It was going to be a long night. The next day, Naruto finished getting dressed and was soon out the door quietly so as not to wake up the sleeping/exhausted woman in his bed. True to his word, Naruto had spoiled, if not ruined, Marjorie sexually so that no other man could come close to satisfying her in bed. If by some chance he died and she had to marry someone else, the bar would be so high up that it would make the woman miss him something fierce after being with another man. All the more reason not to dive when at the wall. The last thing Naruto wanted was for the Tyrell woman to go into a state of depression at not being with him romantically or even physically. You are looking well, your grace, commented Tyrion while seeing the knowing telltale signs of a man who was with a woman last night. I better be well. If not, my army will have some serious problems when I march to the wall to defend it against the wildlings, commented Naruto while seeing Tyrion glance at Bronn, who also smirked, and the king knew that both men knew who he had been with last night. Where is Lady Marjorie? Shouldn't she be here to see you off? Asked Prince Oberyn while also having that I know what you did last night look on his face. She got him off all right. All night long, whispered Bronn to Tyrion, who shushed him to be quiet. I saw her earlier this morning. She is tired though after being up all night with worry over my safe return. I was able to successfully calm her down and provided Marjorie some measure of reassurance that things would be all right, said Naruto, which was true in a certain way and point of view. I'm sure you did, commented Tyrion while Mace was arriving with them to see the king off. Be sure to return safely and in one piece, your grace. If you were to die at the wall, the 7 kingdoms, and my daughter would be devastated, said Mace Tyrell, knowing it was true, but still felt the need to remind the king of House Tyrell's loyalty. He had already sent word to his mother about dispatching soldiers to the wall to aid the king and the north against this invasion from the wildlings. His mother had agreed in a quick response, saying the king and his eventual marriage to Marjorie was crucial now, with the chance to have a child of their house become part of a royal dynasty being so close within their grasp. I have no intention of dying anytime soon, Lord Tyrell. As for Marjorie, I have already let her know that I will return, and showed my appreciation for her concern, said Naruto while Tyrion, Bronn, and Prince Oberyn smirked, knowing exactly how the king showed the woman his appreciation. Thank you, your grace. House Tyrell will always be ready to support you, said Mace while Tyrion had to hold back a remark about how the man shouldn't thank the king for fucking his daughter the previous night. It wouldn't be good for House Baratheon, Lannister, and Tyrell relations if he did. I'm off for the wall. Until my return, Tyrion is in charge of things as Hand of the King. Bronn, keep him out of danger. Or from doing something stupid, commanded Naruto while Bronn smirked and Tyrion gave him this coming from the man who deflowered a high lady of House Tyrell look that everyone, but Mace saw. It is what I get paid for, your grace, commented Bronn while giving a knowing smirk to Tyrion, who sighed while letting the small jab at him slide. With a command to his horse, Naruto rode off with his army of Kingsguard for the wall, where he would be meeting men of the North, the Night's Watch, and many other houses who answered the call to arms. The only house he would be surprised to see when there, if they were there, was House Lannister, since they rarely sent anyone to the wall, whether it was to join the Night's Watch or answer the call to defend it. The West was filled with rich men who preferred to live long in order to spend their wealth over fighting and risk death to themselves, hence why their army was at the core of things, weak. They hired sellswords, assassins, and other more experienced people for that kind of work to take on their enemies. It was why the North had won most of their engagements against the West in the first place. Oh, the forces under House Lannister were not stupid, and they knew how to wield a sword, a spear, and shoot an arrow. But they lacked the training, the discipline, the desire to fight your enemy until there is only one side left standing. In short, what the West had in numbers and gold, they lacked in endurance, spirit, and conviction in their cause when it came to fighting. Why fight and die when you can pay someone else to fight and die for you? Still, Naruto expected his grandfather to send some minor force to the wall. Probably a small army of smallfolk sired bastards he believed could be sent to the wall to become members of the Night's Watch. Even if that was the case, Naruto would accept it since he knew his grandfather had other more pressing issues to work with, and asking too much from the old lion was cruel at this point. The man had other priorities in terms of obtaining proper grandchildren from his eldest son marrying a proper woman right now. Iron Islands at the moment. How goes the creation of our fleet? Asked Euron Greyjoy in his warped voice that it was almost considered to be not human. We are progressing smoothly, your grace. It won't be long before a fleet is ready to launch all-out assault on Westeros, said one of the soldiers on the ship. When this fleet is ready, we will attack the western lands first. Pillage, burn, rape, and plunder everything the Golden Lion possesses there. Balon was a fool to ignore his son's idea of aiding the North. If only for a time. The West had the greater riches worth taking and was completely exposed from behind. Instead, he chose the North with little nothing of value. The fool, commented Euron Greyjoy while having personal reasons to go after the Lannisters first. Namely because Tywin Lannister was the grandfather of the current king of Westeros. He would sack Casterly Rock, Lannisport, the gold mines, the houses there, and take everything not nailed down. He would kill men, rape women, take them as slaves, and force their spoiled brats to be converted into true Ironborn. They would strip of their comfortable beds, clothing, high-priced food, and anything else that made them happy in life. He would bring down upon them untold suffering, which would in turn fuel his own happiness, and make him stronger as a result. Oh yes. Euron Greyjoy was going to love every second of it. The wall. Your grace. It is an honor to see you here, said Alliser Thorne while seeing the King of the Seven Kingdoms dismount from his horse and look around. Spare me your false greetings, Alliser. I know all about you and your real self. You are a glorified pissant for a cunt, said Naruto before shoving the shocked man aside and was heading over to see Maester Aemon walking down the steps with the aid of his steward Sam Tarly. Welcome to the wall, your grace. I thank you for coming with an army during our time of need, said Maester Aemon with the man smiling at where he assumed the king was currently standing while being held his steward. Maester Aemon. It grieves me so to hear of your Lord Commander's death. He was a good honorable man, who died being betrayed by his own men. And all simply because they thought they could get away with it. Those are men who are lower than trash. Make no mistake, they will face justice for this horrible crime against the Night's Watch, said Naruto while Maester Aemon nodded. You need not worry, your grace. Jon Stark has already taken men with him to Craster's Keep to bring those men to justice. I have complete faith in the boy coming back alive and victorious. He is his father's son after all and a Stark. They do not die easily, said Maester Aemon while Naruto let out a chuckle. Indeed. Any news regarding the wildlings marching toward the wall? Asked Naruto to Sam Tarly. Aye, your grace. Scouts reported a large thunderous army coming our way. It won't be long until they reach Craster's Keep after Jon does. It will be close, But hopefully John and the other members of the Night's Watch will get back before that happens, said Sam, as he saw Naruto grimace. In the meantime, we need to strengthen the wall's overall defense to make sure any and all losses on our end are a minimum. I brought some additional supplies to help us with that issue, said Naruto before he motioned his men to begin unload the supplies they would use against the wildlings. Amazing, exclaimed Sam at the sight of these various supplies the king brought. It's nothing really. Just some new toys I wanted to test out. Who better to share them with than the men of the Night's Watch, said Naruto with a smirk on his face while the men around cheered. Well, except Alisar Throne. The man was pricked through and through. The wall days later. John had made it back to the wall with the wives and daughters of the man who was their father and husband all rolled into one horrifying blood-toxic shit for a family. The men of the Night's Watch had stormed Craster's Keep in the dead of night while their former brothers, who broke their oath and betrayed the late Lord Commander, were drinking wine, raping the women, and being monsters in human skin. Fortune and luck was with John's group, as the leader of this group, Carl Tanner, had killed a few of his fellow mutineers when they tried to take a few of the women away from the cutthroat when the man apparently wasn't looking. But he was, if their dead burned bodies was any indication, outside of the keep and using his notorious skills to make sure the others here knew the pecking order was him on top, everyone else was at the bottom. It just made it easier for John's fell brothers to storm the surprised, drink, and, in some cases, half-naked men in Craster's Keep. Unfortunately, Carl had managed to escape the raid when it started. Running out the back by smashing through the brittle wooden wall weakened over the years by the bitter cold of the north. As he ran for his life, knowing even his skills could not best the full might of the men brought down on his pawns, Carl fled deeper into the woods, looking back for any kind sign of pursuit by the Night's Watch, and after a short time stopped when there was nothing behind him. Panting happily, the betrayer, assassin, and cutthroat breathed a sigh of relief knowing he had escaped punishment for his crimes yet again. Fuck the old gods and the new. Fuck the Night's Watch and fuck honor. Fuck life and all its fucking greatness, thought Carl before he spit on the ground as if to emphasize his point to anyone watching him. And there was someone watching him. Or rather, something. The glittering eyes of a wolf. A white wolf, practically unseen due to the snow blending the whiteness of its fur with the white of the environment around it. And this wolf? It wasn't just any wolf. It was a dire wolf. It was Jon Stark's dire wolf, and his name was Ghost. Carl didn't even have time to draw his knives from their hiding place when Ghost struck from behind, its weight pinning the man to the ground. When this happened, the dire wolf instantly went straight for the kill by biting into the man's skull before giving it a hard twist to snap the neck. After that, the dire wolf dined on the flesh of his kill before returning to his master with blood running down its fur like a badge of honor. After getting over the wall with his men and the women, John reported their mission was a success and they burned Craster's Keep to the ground. Naruto approved of this move since the place was a stain on the world and it couldn't be used by the wildlings as a base of operations before they headed toward the wall. The women from Craster's Keep were taken to a private area of the wall away from the men of the Night's Watch and ordered some men from House Tyrell to take them south to the Reach. He was entrusting them to Lady Olenna in their recovery, knowing the old woman would do just that. She may be a sharp-tongued, almost mean old woman, but Naruto knew there was kindness in her heart for those who deserved it. "They are here," whispered Naruto in the darkness of the night with snow coming down around them with skin-tearing winds blowing around them. It was times like this when the intense heat of Essos was missed the most. "There are so many of them." 100,000 wildlings, at least, whispered Rob, who stood beside the king to see the massive army of wildlings below them. John wasn't exaggerating. "Look! There are some giants down there." "By the old and new gods I see giants," said Naruto while seeing full-blooded giants compared to those with half-blood or a quarter blood was something to behold. He knew Qyburn would love to study one or two. Preferably alive. To think giants existed beyond the wall. "If they breached the base of the wall with them, we might not be able to force them back out," said Rob with concern, since the entryway at the base of the wall was the only real way through. "Agreed. They will charge right through and literally crush anyone who stands in their way," remarked Naruto while knowing that if those with giants' blood, but not full giants, were incredibly strong, the full-blooded would practically be unstoppable in a charge. "Do you think Mance Raider still believes his small attack force will get us in a sneak attack from behind?" asked Rob while Naruto shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. We caught and killed most of them. That one girl John knew when traveling with them is quite smitten with him, said Naruto while Rob grimaced. Aye, and he feels the same way with her. It is a shame his vows keep him from being with a woman. Even if the woman is a wildling, remarked Prince Oberyn, having the clothing needed to stay warm on the wall. That's not entirely true. There is a small loophole of sorts. One if backed by the crown could give John a means to leave the Night's Watch to be with her. Provided the Ygritte girl doesn't try to slit his throat, or cut off his cock when sleeping, said Naruto while Rob was a bit curious to his meaning behind the small loophole that could get John out of the Night's Watch. Prince Oberyn had an idea of what Naruto was referring to and smirked along with him. And what loophole is that? Asked Rob curiously before the sound of a war trumpet from the wildling side sounded. Later. Right now, we have army to crush. And a king beyond the wall to defeat. Just make sure neither you nor John dies, said Naruto while signaling for the archers and siege weapons to be loaded at the ready. It was time to fight and kill people now. Down below with the wildling army. Mance Rayder frowned. Something was wrong. Something was off. Considerably off from what his instincts told him. And they were never wrong. Even when Jon Snow was in his camp, his instincts told him to trust the boy. Let him live. He would be a valuable asset one day. Jon reminded Mance a lot of himself at that age. Young. Naive. Wanting to do right and do good in the name of all things honorable. Mance missed those days. Sadly, all good things come to an end, like now with his army of wildlings marching to take down the wall. But from what he could see from his position, it was filled with soldiers. Not just men of the Night's Watch, but others too with banners of different sigils standing proudly in the cold windy night, so Jon Snow managed to obtain allies to defend the wall. Does this mean the group with him are dead? Captured? Was half, if not his entire plan lost? No. Mance had the numbers. More wildlings were in his army than the men of the Night's Watch. Not even the additional men Jon managed to recruit to aid in the wall's defense in such a short time could stand against the might he brought down on them. They could still win. Order the charge. Let's take this 7 damned wall away from these fucking crows, commanded Mance Rayder with his men soon charging the wall, knowing the entrance at the base was the real goal while a good portion of them would scale the large monument of ice. He had the numbers, and while Mance didn't want all of them to die, the more violent ones of the wildling army needed to be thinned out considerably. Mance had wanted to create a new wildling society for his people once they were over the wall. To get all of them united from every clan in existence and get them where it was safe, secure, and they didn't have to sleep with one eye open all the time during the night. But not all of the wildling clans were what you call passive in that regard. He had quite a few clans in his army, each with dark tendencies and cruel habits that would make the other clans turn on them once this was over. It would bring about new infighting, chaos, and not even Mance would be able to stop it once things started. He had seen enough of it in the last 20 years to know when clans feud with other clans, nothing short of the White Walkers, and becoming undead slaves to those inhuman cunts was going to stop it. Hence why he had the more bloodthirsty, hate-filled members of his army charge first and thin his ranks. Was it heartless? Cruel? Dishonorable even? Yes. In some way it was all those things. But the alternative in having them over the wall and getting everyone south of the wall marching against them. While his wildling army and the wildlings as a whole were strong now, they sadly could not stand up against the full might of all 7 kingdoms united against them. He essentially had to trim the fat and cut his losses. And the men of the Night's Watch were more than willing to help in that regard. While half of his men went to climb the wall, the more large and heavy set of his forces charged the base where the true door to their freedom resided. Top of the wall. They are going for it. Like Jon thought they would, said Naruto while Rob nodded while seeing the larger individuals of the army heading for the entrance. They will sadly be disappointed when they finally get there. If we let them get that far, said Rob while Naruto nodded in agreement. Unlike Alisar Throne, they had considered what Jon said about the means for which the wildlings could get through the wall. Whether by climbing or by the entrance that was the passage leading from here to the lands beyond the wall. Jon had suggested the entire passage be frozen over inside to the point where nothing could get through in order to keep the wildlings from using it. Alisar thought it was foolish knowing it would take away a key means of entering further north when necessary. But Naruto, Rob, and John knew better. Two men who had experience in war and one having key information about the enemy's plans shut the bitter man up. Maester Eamon had supported the idea, stating the passage could be repaired after this was over, even if it took 100 years to do it, since the men of the Night's Watch were not going anywhere. What mattered was ensuring the wildlings didn't use the passage to get through, and any attempt to try would end in failure. Artillery! Fire on several of those giants! Now, commanded Naruto, with those on the giant crossbow launchers obeying the command of their king. Unfortunately, out of the 5 giants down there, only 2 were hit. The other 3 giants soon began to move, knowing to stop for a second would result in being hit by the deadly projectiles capable of killing even them. Those 3 giants made it to the doorway, commented Rob, while Naruto remained calm. They can't get in, Rob. Even with those 3 giants smashing against the iced passage, it will take them years to get through. Still, best to send some of the men to our side of the passage for added defense and security just to be safe, said Naruto before motioning some men to go down there. We still have wildlings halfway up the wall, shouted a member of the Night's Watch near the flaming barrel droppers. How many? Asked Naruto while the man peered over the side quickly and nearly got hit by an arrow for his troubles. A lot, exclaimed the Night's Watch member. Damn! They must have been practicing for this moment or are really that desperate. I think we need to demoralize our enemy completely. Use it, commanded Naruto in firm tone, knowing the wall had a major defensive weapon for something like this. Are you sure? We can only use it once and it severely damages the wall as a result, said Rob. Saw Naruto nod. They had asked about all the defense capabilities of the wall, which Maester Eamon and Sam Tarly were happy to provide. Despite what Alistair Thorne thought of revealing such secrets to them was not in the best interest of defending the wall. I know. But the action it causes will scare the wildlings enough to run away, and the damage will actually make it more difficult for them to climb if they make another attempt. Do it, commanded Naruto, with Rob nodding and signaling John to pull the mechanism that deployed the scythe. The massive bladed weapon, connected by a thick metal chain, was the most dangerous weapon the Night's Watch had in their possession to defend against invasion. It was designed for the specific purpose of cutting down a large army of wildlings trying to climb the wall, as they were doing right now. The blade would slice through flesh, bone, and ice in one single swing along the wall. It was doubly effective for the enemy at the base, as the large chunks of ice fell on them, killing and crushing those who were merely unfortunate enough to be in the exact spot where the falling ice projectiles landed. And it did just that right now. They are retreating, said Rob while the men around them cheered. For now. We hit them hard, but they won't stay down for long. They'll plan to get around our defenses. We need to press the advancement, said Naruto before leaving his spot on the wall. How? Asked Rob curiously while Prince Oberyn already began to follow him. Just because this passage below Castle Black is closed doesn't mean the others aren't open to be exploited. Mobilize a force capable of flanking them on both sides and we crush this invading army. You coming? Asked Naruto with Rob thinking it over for a second. Very well. But if I die, you have to tell my wife it was your fault, said Rob while Naruto laughed. Ha! Fat chance. I'd sooner kiss a White Walker, said Naruto while Rob laughed at that. Wait. I'm coming too, added John while the 3 descended to the base of the wall. Are you sure? Asked Rob with John nodding. I need to do this. If he lives, I need to talk to Mance. I need to convince him to stop this fighting with the Night's Watch, said John while Naruto nodded. You want him to bend the knee, surmised Naruto with John nodding. He may be a wildling, but Mance Rayder fights for the living, your grace. A man like that deserves a chance at living to keep fighting for it, said John while Naruto nodded, since he heard what the late Lord Commander allowed to happen to Craster's bastard boys. He wouldn't judge the late Lord Commander for his decisions in life. The man did what was done because there was no other alternative. If there had been, Naruto was sure the old bear would have taken it over what he had to take in life. We will see. If he lives through this planned attack, you can talk to him to your heart's content, said Naruto while they made their way to the horses and planned to ride with their army out of the gate from the 2 main castles and flank the unsuspecting wildlings before Hate could regain their footing, with the wildling main camp sometime later. Fucking crows. I thought the numbers on the wall were thin like our scouts reported to you, Mance, said a wildling in Mance Raider tent. They did. Lord Commander Mormont brought a large army with him here to the north and lost most of them too. Somehow, they got their numbers replenished, said Mance while looking at the other wildlings in the tent who were leaders of their clans. And not all of them liked each other. It was that fucking crow we let in here. He told the others of our plans. Tormund and his group must have been taken out. They would have been attacking the crows from behind while we went after them in the front, said the wildling leader of the Scourge clan. Perhaps. Even if that were true, the crows shouldn't have been able to defeat us like they did so easily, and with such numbers considering how many of them they originally lost, countered Mance while he wondered how they had been repelled so easily. The archers on the wall that shot at them had done the most damage to his army before the scythe came down and killed a large chunk of his arm. He didn't even know the damn thing existed. He heard rumors about such a weapon, but to see it in action was another matter entirely. Only 2 giants now remained out of his whole group after 2 of them were killed by arrows fired from bastilles and the one from a large piece of ice from the wall falling down on him. Mance's rumblings on the issue were silenced by a rumbling noise. And it was getting louder. Do you hear that? That rumbling sound? Questioned a second wildling leader of the Iron Blood clan. Thunder? Asked another wildling leader of the Skull Stealer clan. No. That sound, it's horses. Cavalry. We're under attack, exclaimed Mance before he rushed out of the tent and saw his men running around trying to arm themselves while his encampment was being attacked on 2 sides by enemy on horseback. Arm yourselves. Push them back, exclaimed one wildling near them before he was speared in the chest by a bannerman of House Stark. The wildlings around Mance tried to defend themselves, but were unable to repel the force that came charging down on them from 2 different sides. Many didn't know which way to turn to fight the enemy since they were coming in both directions and as a result were slaughtered without mercy. Those that tried to run back deeper into the north they knew were soon surrounded on all sides with sword and spears pointed at them. When it all over, only several hundred members of the wildling army that was once 10 times the number remained. Secure the prisoners. I want no harm to befall them while bound. Understand, ordered Naruto while the men around him nodded and moved a large circle of men surrounding the 2 giants putting up heavy resistance. They won't yield, exclaimed Rob while dodging a body of a Night's Watch member being thrown in their direction. Step back. Everyone steps back, commanded Naruto while walking forward. Your Grace. You need to get clear. These creatures will kill you, exclaimed a member of the Kingsguard. Stay where you are and leave this to me, commanded Naruto while standing just out of arm's reach of either giant. He must have balled the size of those giants, remarked Prince Oberyn, who was stained in the blood of the wildlings he had expertly killed with his spear. I wouldn't be surprised if he does, added Rob while seeing Naruto approaching the giants calmly like he wasn't afraid of them. The one giant known to the wildlings as One glares down at the king of the 7 kingdoms looks up at the giant. Your Grace, protested another man from House Tyrell while Naruto raised a hand. If you can understand me, nod your head, said Naruto while looking right at One, who narrowed his eyes at him, before nodding. Much to the shock of everyone. Did you know he could understand us? Asked Rob to John with John nodding. I suspected he did. You don't hang around different clans with different languages for nearly 20 years and not learn anything as a result, answered John while seeing Naruto smile slightly. If I order my men to lower their weapons, will you and your fell giant stop trying to kill us? Asked Naruto with One looking at his comrade, who looked around, and they knew we're in a deadly situation. One turned to Naruto before slowly nodding and Naruto motioned for his men to lower their weapons. Good. I won't have you restrained because I get the feeling if I did, you would cost me a great manly life in the process. So, I will ask that you and your fellow giant of a friend simply sit or stand here under watchful eyes, said Naruto while One and fellow giant were hesitant to obey. Your Grace, they cannot be trusted to be left unshackled. They need to be restrained, protested a member of the Night's Watch and got growl from One in the process. No. Consider this an act of good faith. We don't restrain them. They don't attack. A fair deal, said Naruto while One was less resistant to the idea of listening to him after hearing that. My men will help keep an eye on them. We are no strangers to those with giant's blood in them, said Rob since he was sure Hodder would love to meet an actual giant. Good. John. You're with me, said Naruto before he walked over to where Mance Rayder was being held near the other wildlings with John walking right beside him, the wildlings watching them very carefully. It was clear to Naruto that if he so much as spit in Mance's face or in his general direction, it would stir them up something fierce. The men watching over Mance Rayder were keeping him a secure distance from the other wildlings while the man himself sat in the snow. Mance had clearly been beaten up, but whether it happened during or after the fighting was unknown. Regardless, Naruto had arranged for crude chairs to be brought to them from Mance's war tent so they could both sit down on. It was better than freezing their asses off in the snow. So you are Southern King, who sits on the Iron Throne. You're different from what I was expecting, said Mance while he was helped to his feet and escorted to his chair across from Naruto. The name is Naruto of House Baratheon. And you are Mance Rayder, also known as the King Beyond the Wall. Despite how things turned out, it is an honor, said Naruto with Mance looking a tad surprised. I cannot imagine how you would be honored to meet with me since I am the leader of the free folk and my people have been killing yours since the wall first went up, said Mance while Naruto smiled politely at him. I'm honored because I get to meet a fellow king like myself who cares about his people and wants to see them survive. You care about them. It is what makes you an effective ruler, said Naruto while Mance scoffed. Effective nothing. I'll tell you what I told the crow here. I got all of the different clans in the north together by telling them that if we didn't get over the wall, we were all going to die. It took me 20 years to get them all together and it wasn't always easy. Each clan was hating the other. Blood oaths of vengeance. Demands by clans to other clan for sacrifices of lives to pay the price for past crimes of some sort ages ago from long dead ancestors, said Mance while Naruto laughed. Sounds like politics. You handled it well. You became their king and you obtained their trust in a way where everyone would have said trust is impossible. It is very impressive to say the least, said Naruto while Mance nodding before he glanced at a regretful John. You did what you had to do, lad. I don't hate you for it. I would have done the same in your place, said Mance while John winced before the Stark addressed Naruto. Your Grace, would it be too much to ask that you show Mance Rayder mercy? A chance to live beyond today, asked John while Naruto thinking it over. That depends on Mance Rayder, said Naruto while Mance looked him dead in the eyes with a serious look on his face. I won't bend the knee to you. I don't care what you offer me. Mance Rayder does not bend the knee to anyone, said Mance while Naruto's smile left him. And what about the others here? The free folk need you. Are you so afraid of wounding your own pride that you won't do the sensible thing here if it means everyone lives, said John while Mance looked from Naruto, who didn't react to the Stark's outburst, right to John himself. Fuck my pride. I don't bend the knee because every one of the free folk respects me. The moment I bend the knee to you or any Southern king, I lose it all. No one would follow me. Even if I got them over the wall to do it. And do you know what happens once they break away from my leadership? Clans fight clans. Free folk kill other free folk. I am all that keeps them from turning anything they can grab as a weapon against each other. So fuck your offers and fuck your belief I am doing this for my pride, said Mance to John while Naruto sighed. I see. That's a real shame. I had actually hoped you could help me with something. You and the wildlings would benefit from it in the long run, said Naruto with Mance looking back at him again. And I told you, I won't bend the knee. I won't serve a Southern king. Even if the one in front of me has my respect, said Mance while Naruto smirked. I'm not asking you to bend the knee, Mance. I know my late father and king would have demanded it. My uncle Stannis would have ordered it. My uncle Renly would have had the decency to at least ask you politely. Fortunately, I am neither of them. I won't demand it, order it, or ask it of you. Instead, I am proposing an offer where everyone here wins, and you none of the wildlings have to bend the knee, said Naruto while Mance raised an eyebrow at him. I find that hard to believe considering our positions, said Mance while Naruto's grin had increased. Normally, you would be right about that, but I have never been considered normal by any standards set by people. I am an oddity through and through. Which is why my offer will not be given a second time. My offer is this: I get you, and the wildlings of your choosing over the wall. In return, you and the wildlings do something for me, said Naruto while Mance and the others around him looked at the king in shock. And what is it you want from my people? Asked Mance curiously. I need you to the fighting force to take down a pain that I have been delaying in dealing with until now. There is a red priestess from Essos residing in the island region known as Dragonstone. She's preaching about the Lord of Light, how she serves the one true God, and burning just about anything or anyone around her who disagrees with it. This woman has gathered quite a few followers on the island, but I kept them contained using the royal fleet to blockade them. But sooner or later, the Red Woman is going to want to leave the island and take her teachings to the rest of the 7 kingdoms. I want you and your wildlings to attack Dragonstone. I want you to kill the Red Woman, said Naruto while Mance looked skeptical. And in return, asked Mance cautiously. You get Dragonstone and the entire island for you and the wildlings to live on, said Naruto while Mance just let out a scoffing noise. It's not much of an offer. I'm trading the north for an island. One that can be controlled by your 7 kingdoms and that damn Iron Throne, remarked Mance while admitted as much with nod. True. It could be just another way to trap the wildlings. But only if I was a heartless cunt on the issue. At least the environment Dragonstone has wouldn't be cold all of the time and you wouldn't have to worry about the White Walkers coming for you in the middle of the night, countered Naruto with a smirk. I can't argue with that. But you are asking me along with the rest of the free folk to fight for you. Even if it is for this one time. That's one time too many, said Mance since he knew the others would never fight for this king, even less if Mance himself asked them to do it. They would see such a thing as a betrayal of themselves. Mance, said John, but a raised hand by Naruto silenced him. I know what it is that hunts you. Beyond the wall. Deep within the north of here. Do not think I am blind to the truth of what is coming, said Naruto while Mance looked from him to John. I see you told him what you saw at Craster's Keep. I'm surprised, said Mance while John nodding. I won't hold what the late Lord Commander did against him. The man's options were limited in trying to keep you and the wildlings away from the wall. Still, it was wrong all the same. But John was honest with you when he said he fought for the living. We all do. Whether you are a king, a wildling, a man of the Night's Watch, or just one of the poorest smallfolk around. If we don't fight for the living, we might as well be dead. And if the stories about the White Walkers are true, we don't stay dead for very long, said Naruto while Mance frowned further since he had burned quite a few bodies because of those ice cunts. So let me get this straight, my people fight for you one time. Just once. To take this island you call Dragonstone? Kill this Red Woman from some religion from another land? In return, you have it where this island is our new home to do with as we see fit, questioned Mance with Naruto nodding. Within reason, of course. I don't need you turning it into another Iron Island and follow House Greyjoy's example. Those Kraken shits don't need to be inspired by outside forces. If you want, a representative of your choosing can come to King's Landing. To be your voice in my court. To be your eyes and ears while in the city. To keep you appraised of everything going on with the rest of the world, said Naruto with Mance looking from him to John to the wildlings nearby. Say I agree to this offer of yours. I still won't bend the knee. I won't swear any oath of loyalty to you or to your Iron Throne, said Mance while Naruto nodding. I'm not asking for that, Mance. All I ask is when the time comes, your people will stand beside mine in our fight against the White Walkers. Why? Because we both know it will take the combined might of everyone alive to win over the army of the Walking Dead. Because we both know these White Walkers don't care about status, bloodlines, money, politics, or any of the shit we deal with every single damn day. They use us to fuel their army with undead because we spend so much killing each other on this side of wall. Wildlings killed wildlings before you came along. Wildlings killed members of the Night's Watch and the Night's Watch killed wildlings. Nearly 1,000 years of doing this little song and dance with them playing the tune. Can you imagine the sheer number of dead minions they must have in their army? Makes what you had and I have with me seem insignificant by comparison. They march with a single purpose, to destroy all the realms of men. Only together can we stop their purpose from becoming a reality, said Naruto while extending his hand toward Mance, who looked at it before looking at the man holding the arm out to take, and after what felt like quite a long time, shook it. You seem like a man of your word. John here seems to hold you in high regard. I may not like the idea of working to help you out, much less fighting for you. But I sure as hell would rather not be made a slave or fuel for the White Walkers and their fucking army, said Mance while Naruto nodded. Nor do I wish you to be part of it. I take it there is a wildling settlement where most of your people not here have made for themselves, asked Naruto with Mance nodding. Aye, but to get there you need a ship. To get my people out of there, you need a lot of ships, said Mance while Naruto nodded, since the only other way to get around the wall was by water in certain spots. First, we get your people here over the wall. Provided you can convince them all from doing something stupid, you are coming with me to the settlement where the rest of them are holding up. The more of your people we take over the wall, the smaller the army the White Walkers possess, replied Naruto with Mance nodding in agreement. They will listen to me when I explain things to them. They won't like it, but they will still listen. You keep your word and I will keep mine, said Mance while Naruto nodded. I have no problem with that. John, tell Rob we're heading out with our prisoners over the wall. Make sure you say prisoners. I don't want Alliser Thorne get wind of what has happened here. Some of the men from the Night's Watch will no doubt have his kind of mentality in wanting all the wildlings here killed, said Naruto while John nodded and went to give the order with Mance watching the Stark leave them. John's a good lad. Being a crow is not for him. Joining the Night's Watch was a mistake on his part, said Mance while Naruto nodded. I agree with you. Ned Stark tried to talk him out of it at first. So did John's uncle, who was a member of the Night's Watch from what I understand at the time. But John wanted to make his family proud, and being a bastard at the time makes you do crazy things for the love of others, said Naruto while he saw Mance smirking. Like I said, it is a waste for him being a crow. It doesn't suit him. He should be a lord of his castle, ruling over some land and fighting for them when someone tries to take it, said Mance before he got up from his seat and began walking side by side with Naruto. Between you, myself, and this snow, I might have found a way around that problem, said Naruto with Mance smirking further. Good. The sooner John stops being a crow the better, said Mance while Naruto stayed silent on the issue to join John, Rob, and Prince Oberyn now waiting for them. They had other things to do that required his attention. Chapter 12 Union. Naruto walked with Mance Rayder and half of his remaining wildling forces through the wall on one side and Rob leading the other half through the other side. Because of this, they were able to avoid having to explain themselves to Alliser Thorne and the other members of the Night's Watch who were like him for the time being. Eventually, Naruto and John had to tell Alliser what was decided, which didn't sit well with the first ranger in the slightest. The man hated wildlings, hated Mance Rayder, hated John Stark, and was beginning to really hate the king of the Seven Kingdoms. You have no business bringing those wildlings over the wall. I don't care if you are the king of the Seven Kingdoms. Everything connected to the wall, including how to deal with wildlings when captured, is the business of the Night's Watch. You have no right to take them over the wall, growled Alliser Thorne while getting in Naruto's face. If you don't get out of my face in the next 5 seconds, Sir Thorne, I am going to smash your ugly cunt for a face repeatedly through the nearest the wall of this room until there is nothing to even call a face, threatened Naruto calmly while Alliser slowly backed off. Do you have any fucking idea of what you have done? Asked Alliser while glaring at the king and John. Yes, I do realize what I have done. I have prevented the White Walkers from adding the wildling army to their own, answered Naruto calmly, like what he did was not a major moment in history. You could have killed them all and burned the bodies, countered Alliser angrily at the king with Naruto looking like his words meant little to him. And they did. Unlike you, Alliser, I don't enjoy the idea of butchering people first over seeking better alternatives, said Naruto while Alliser's head looked ready to explode with rage. They aren't people. They are wildlings. They deserve to be butchered and slaughtered down to the last one, exclaimed Alliser with his voice echoing throughout the hall of Castle Black. You can argue that all you want, Alliser, but considering how the White Walkers feed off such hatred, I suggest you think before you act on it, said Naruto while Alliser glared at him before focusing it on John. You believe that nonsense, don't you, boy? The White Walkers are real? That they make the dead rise and use them to get over the wall, questioned Alliser to John with the Stark nodding. I do. I saw it at Craster's Keep, when Craster gave one of his bastard sons to the White Walkers. The Lord Commander knew. Mance Rayder knew. I fight for the living, Alliser. Like it or not, the wildlings are among the living. I would rather have them fight beside us against the White Walkers instead of having them be added to the army of the dead, said John while Alliser snarled at him. Of course, you would say that, boy. You went and fucked a wildling girl. Saw how they lived. Saw the freedom they had over the wall. You are no better than Mance Rayder. You are not worthy of being a brother of the Night's Watch, exclaimed Alliser while having the strong urge to draw his sword and kill the younger man and the king standing beside him. If you feel that strongly about that, Sir Thorne, perhaps you would wish to hear what I have to say on the subject, said Naruto while Alisar looked from Jon to the king. And what is your offer you are suggesting, your grace, spat Alisar with anger. That you allow Jon to leave the Night's Watch and his vows which bind him to it, said Naruto with Alisar spitting on the ground and saw Jon looking at the king in surprise. And why would I do that, asked Alisar with Naruto looking at him calmly. Because it makes life easier for everyone. You don't want Jon here and Jon doesn't want to be here when you eventually become the new Lord Commander. Personally, I don't blame him for wanting to leave. All I see when looking at you is an angry, hate-filled cunt, who will one day die alone. Or one day be killed by his own men so they don't have to deal with your way of doing things ever again. Jon has potential to do great things, but he will never reach it here, or at least with you as part of the Night's Watch, said Naruto while Alisar glanced at Jon before looking at the king. He took his vows and oaths to be a brother of the Night's Watch. Nothing you say or do can get him out of his servitude, said Alisar while making plans to make Jon's life very miserable when becoming Lord Commander. Actually, that's not entirely true. You see, Jon Snow took the oath to become a brother of the Night's Watch. Not Jon Stark. As it stands, if Jon were to leave, it would be as Jon Stark. Not Jon Snow. So the oath no longer applies. If you were to sign off on it once you became Lord Commander, no one would hold it against you, said Naruto with Alisar just glaring at him. A fucking technicality with names and you think it's enough to set him free from his oath to the Night's Watch, asked Alisar while Naruto smiled now. Yes I do. If the new Lord Commander backs the decision, Jon will be allowed to leave to help the realms of men in other ways the Night's Watch couldn't do, answered Naruto with Alisar not liking it one bit. And if I say no? If I become the new Lord Commander and decide to make the life of Jon Stark here miserable to the end of his days? What are you going to do about it? Challenged Alisar, getting in Naruto's face again. Before Naruto moved in a flash, grabbed Alisar by the throat, and slammed the man right into a wall with enough force to leave an imprint of his body. Alisar tried to break Naruto's hold on him, but found he couldn't, and those eyes filled with power held the cold man in place with a sense of fear. If you don't agree to this, Alisar Thorn, I will kill you here and now. I will spray your organs, your blood, your very physical existence all over this very room. I will make your brothers in the Night's Watch enter this room to nominate a new Lord Commander soon afterward. I will watch as another Lord Commander is nominated while your remains are dripping from the ceiling to the floor and the Lord Commander agrees to my terms. You can agree to accept them or you can die in order to let someone else accept them in your place, said Naruto before he threw Alisar across the room, seeing him side on the table. Your Grace, you don't have to do this for me, protested Jon, but Naruto raised his hand to silence him. Do you agree with my terms, Alisar? Or do I need to end your time here on the Night's Watch and find one of your brothers who will agree to my terms, challenged Naruto, as he saw Alisar get off the ground and glare hatefully at the king. I accept. But if the boy comes back here for any reason, I won't be held responsible if one of my brothers run his blade through his belly, said Alisar while Naruto nodded. Good. Also, upon Maester Eamon's death, you will transfer Sam Tarly to the Citadel at Old Town and allow him to take the wildling girl Gilly too, ordered Naruto while Alisar growled further at this since he didn't like the fat Tarly boy either. And what is your interest in Jon Stark's fat useless friend, asked Alisar while Naruto narrowed his eyes at him. Sam Tarly is far from useless if you know where his strengths are located and place him where those strengths can thrive. Sam has the potential to become a good maester with the proper guidance. It is why Maester Aemon obtained him as a steward, same as the late Lord Commander Mormont obtained Jon for the same reason, replied Naruto angrily. And what reason is that? Asked Alisar with anger still showing in his voice. To help mold them into what was to be the future of the Night's Watch. Sadly, you are so filled with hate and anger at either Jon or Sam or some other new recruit that comes to the wall. It has practically blinded you to the point where you would rather see all of the potential they possess barely be realized. I will not allow your actions to endanger the Night's Watch, said Naruto while Alisar scowled from his position in trying to stand fully. Fine. I will do what you ask, but do not come back here again. If you do, I along with every brother of the Night's Watch will take your head, warned Alisar while Naruto just scoffed at him. Don't make threats you can't back up, Alisar. With the way you treat people, it is only a matter of time before your brothers end up killing you for being a heartless cunt, said Naruto coldly before leaving the main hall of Castle Black with Jon right beside him. You didn't have to do that, your grace, said Jon at last while Naruto turned to look at him. I did actually. I heard some people talking, Jon. Several of your brothers in the Night's Watch were planning to kill you a few days from now. They feel your time over the wall, bringing the wildlings we defeated through the wall, and you admitting to sleeping with that one wildling girl makes you a traitor. They were planning to kill you right after I and everyone not part of the Night's Watch left the wall. It would happen right after Alisar was named the new Lord Commander. I need you alive, John. I need you alive and away from this damn wall, said Naruto firmly before walking away again. And say I am free from my oath and vows here? What would you have me do? Asked John confused while Naruto stopped and smirked at him this time. I expect you to help me and Mance Raider keep the remaining wildlings in line once we get them to Dragonstone, said Naruto while John looked baffled. How? Asked John curiously. By being with that wildling girl, of course. You two are going to be their representative in King's Landing, and the best way to do that is for the two of you to be married, said Naruto while John felt his jaw practically unhinge itself in shock. Married? Neither Mance nor the other wildlings will accept this. Not to mention Ygritte will sooner kill me before accepting the idea. Not after I betrayed her, said John with a sigh, knowing his actions caused her a lot of pain and heartache. She will forgive you. It will take time, but the girl will forgive. Besides, from what I was told, many in the group she was with were a bunch of barbaric cunts. You probably did her and that giant Spain fellow a big favor of favors, since they would most likely turn on the girl and him when they were done attacking the wall, said Naruto while seeing John sighing. I just hope she won't do anything too harsh to me after this whole situation calms down, said John while Naruto smirked. I doubt it. At least not at first. Chances are, you two will get married, have a few kids, all will be well for a time, and only when you least expect it, the girl cuts your balls off, said Naruto while John winced and glared at him. You sure know how to make a man feel better about himself, Your Grace, commented John while Naruto laughed. What can I say, except it's a gift, answered Naruto with his smirk never leaving him. Dragonstone main hall weeks later. It took considerable amount of time to get the royal fleet to Hardhome, with many of the wildlings seeing them approaching. Many wildlings in the settlement were shocked to see that Mance was alive and with King Naruto himself. Even one had joined them too, but it was more to protect Mance instead of Naruto from the wildlings in case they thought their leader had betrayed them. Flashback Hardhome some time ago. You expect us to accept these terms? From this southern king, demanded the Lord Bones while he glared at Naruto, currently surrounded by wildlings. I don't expect you to agree. But answer me this, Lord of Bones, would you prefer that the White Walkers come here, kill all of you, and turn your bodies into their puppets of the undead? Maybe they have some sick sense of humor and will make you dance like one just for their amusement while your organs dangle out of the opening around your belly, said Naruto while the Lord of Bones glared at him. I didn't ask you, Southern King, exclaimed the Lord of Bones. Perhaps, but I doubt any answer Mance gave you would have been any less different, said Naruto while the wildling in front of him growled. What say you, Mance? Can we trust this Southern King? Asked Karsi, since she trusted Mance to do what is right and protect them from the White Walkers. She also wanted to protect her children. The Southern King kept his word when we lost to his forces at the wall. What was left of the army was allowed to pass through the wall without any transgressions aimed against us. He could have killed us. Butchered us like animals. But he didn't. He didn't ask me to bend the knee. He didn't demand it or order it. What this man here is offering us now is our one chance to live somewhere without the White Walkers breathing down our necks every night, said Mance while the then leader Loboda didn't like it. Only we have to fight the king's fight to claim the island. My ancestors would be rolling over in their graves if they saw me breaking bread with a Southern King, much less the idea of fighting for one, said Loboda while spitting on the ground. So would mine, but fuck them, they're dead. Besides, I thought you didn't like anything handed to you. Fighting for what we want is our way, said Karsi while Loboda disagreed with her to a point. Only on our terms. Not this Southern King, countered Loboda angrily. Listen. I know you don't like me. Many of you don't like me. In fact, I get the distinct impression many of you here and in this settlement would take great pleasure in killing me in all sorts of painful ways. But you have to decide right here, right now, on what it is you want to do with your life. Either stay here and eventually die? To become the undead puppets of the White Walkers when they come knocking at your door? I'm here offering you a chance to get over the wall, somewhere safe, where it's not always so fucking cold all the time, and the White Walkers are nowhere to be found, countered Naruto while the then leader growled. It is an island. It might well be the wall. Only instead of a wall of ice, it is a wall of water, said Lobota while Naruto smirked. If I wanted to be a backstabbing cunt. But I am not a backstabbing cunt. I am offering a chance to live on an island, White Walker free, and live a life with Mance Raider still leading you, said Naruto while seeing Lobota glancing at Mance for a second. But he will still answer to you in the end, Lobota shot back. All parts of the 7 kingdoms in Westeros answer to me in the end. Dorne. The Vale. Casterly Rock. Even Winterfell in the north. Dragonstone will be no different when you live there. Besides, I plan to have a representative in my court be the bridge between myself and Mance so he won't be kept in the dark about what is going on within King's Landing, said Naruto while he looked at Mance, who nodded in agreement since the two had talked about the chosen individuals representing the wildlings living in Dragonstone. And who would that be exactly? Asked Lobota suspiciously. A wildling girl named Ygritte and Jon Stark, formerly of the Night's Watch, said Naruto with the leaders in the room not like that answer. You would enlist that crow? Demanded the Lord of Bones. I said he was a former member of the Night's Watch. Meaning he is a former crow, as you called him. I got him out of the service of being one, said Naruto, knowing the issue with Ygritte and Jon had been strained at first. Not surprising since Jon did betray her and she did shoot 3 arrows into him. And you are okay with this? Asked Carsey to Mance with the man nodding. Jon's a good lad. And it's true, the king here got him out of the service of the Night's Watch. Jon wasn't meant for it. We all saw it when he was in our camp. Besides, I would rather trust Jon Stark and Ygritte to represent us over anyone else, answered Mance to his fellow free folk. I still don't like this, Mance, but if you think it's for the best, said the Lord of Bones while Mance nodded, it is for the best. We aren't being asked or forced to bend the knee. We aren't being told to give up our ways. So long as they don't conflict with the rest of the 7 kingdoms, we will do just fine living in Dragonstone once we take it from this red woman. I know you don't want to fight in the name of some southern king or lord. Neither do I. So I am asking you to fight for me and take this island to start a brand new life there. Away from the cold, away from the Night's Watch, and away from the fucking White Walkers, said Mance with the leaders in the large hut looking at one another. You have always done right by us, Mance. Whatever you did, it was to help us live to see another day. To help us survive. I want my children to live long lives, Mance. If you say this will help them do just that, I will support you, said Carsey with Mance nodding. Fuck it. My ancestors would have probably taken the offer if given to them, so I will too, said Lobota while glancing from Mance to Naruto. And you, Lord Bones? Asked Mance while the bone-wearing man thought it over in his head before sighing. You are lucky Mance is alive to talk us into this southern king. If he wasn't, I would say fuck you, and smash your head in with my staff, said the Lord of Bones, and Naruto just let out a small chuckle. There is a fleet of ships ready to transport everyone here to Dragonstone. It will be a very long trip, so try not to kill anyone, said Naruto while leaving the hut. End flashback. It doesn't look like much, commented Mance Raider after seeing the cast and saw it was in slight disrepair with Naruto standing beside him in the main hall. It is to be expected given the previous owner didn't appreciate it and the red woman was not one to order any improvements. But it's livable and fixable. You got to admit, the weather here is much warmer, said Naruto with Mance nodding. Aye, it is warmer. But I won't be trading our furs anytime soon, said Mance, knowing winter was still coming and it was going to get cold soon. I don't expect you to change or trade your furs for something else just yet, Mance. In fact, I would hold on to them since winter is coming, commented Naruto while seeing Mance nod in agreement. Still, I must admit, there is no denying the warmer weather. We could get used to it, said Mance in an afterthought. Survive this next winter and the White Walkers when they come knocking, and you just might, said Naruto before the red woman was brought before him by several wildlings. The red woman of Essos had clearly been beaten bloody by the wildlings from what he and Mance could see of her current injuries. Her red dress was torn to the point of almost falling off and leaving the woman naked. She had been in the middle of some kind of ritual using Stannis' now late wife as a sacrifice for the Lord of Light, with the one being sacrificed being burned alive while receiving a dagger into the stomach while the heat from the flame melts the metal into the flesh. How it helped her so-called god, Naruto had no idea. Naruto couldn't deny she was beautiful in her own way, at least at first, before his eyes eventually saw through the illusion. She was a far cry from the beauties he had known in his life worthy of such praise. No. The illusion showed what she looked like ages ago in her prime. The necklace had a jewel creating the image of a young woman. In the end, Naruto saw the real Melisandre in her actual physical form, with it being that of an extremely old woman. One long since past her physical prime. Naruto realized the woman was only young and fit so long as the necklace was on her body. It wasn't just an illusionary empowering jewel, but one that actually helped keep the body young until it was removed. Once removed, the energies that kept the woman young, or the appearance of being young, whichever it really was, would stop providing her with such youth would be lost. We meet at last, Red Woman. I hope you don't mind, but I'm not going to apologize for Mance's army killing your followers and beating you up as they did. I'm not a follower of you or your god, said Naruto calmly while the woman looked up at him with anger in her eyes. You killed my god's champion. How? How did you win? Demanded Melisandre while Naruto squatted down so they were eye level. You have your god. I have my mine. Your god chose a poor champion. Mine did not, said Naruto while not ashamed to admit his late uncle Stannis was a poor choice for this Lord of Light. Stannis was a good battle commander. A soldier and warrior. But he was not a man of the people. He did not inspire everyone around him. Soldiers, yes. Small folk? No. People as a whole, he was cold to them, and was too set in his ways to even know kindness outside of his own daughter. Shame, really. Your gods are insignificant compared to the Lord of Light, exclaimed Melisandre while Naruto smirked before leaning closer near her ear. My eyes say otherwise, my dear. A gift from one such deity when I was just a baby. I see the real you, whispered Naruto while seeing the woman stiffen in worry and her face now showed fear. Impossible, whispered Melisandre while Naruto smirked at her before his face went to that of a scowl and drew his sword. Hold her down. It is time we ended this, said Naruto while walking to the side of the woman while she was held down. No. I won't allow this to happen, protested Melisandre, but her resistance was pointless due to lacking the physical strength to fight back. It already has happened, remarked Naruto before taking the red woman's head clean off. An interesting first day ruling over an island, remarked Mance while Naruto sheathed his sword and shrugged. At least you can say it wasn't boring, said Naruto with Mance smirking now. You have done right by us. You could have let my people die beyond the wall or at the hands of your own sword. But you didn't. You gave us a new home. A new life. I won't bend the knee for this, but I will say thank you all the same, said Mance seriously while Naruto nodded. You are the new Lord of Dragonstone and are responsible for all that such a title entails, Mance Raider. Rule well, have a few children, and make this island great again, said Naruto while giving the man a respectful bow before leaving the room. Mance Raider, the Lord of Dragonstone. It has a nice ring to it, said Mance to himself while letting the reality of his situation sink in. King's Landing sometime later. Naruto rode into the city feeling victorious in his efforts to keep peace within the 7 kingdoms, with the people cheering at the sight of their king's return. Word had already spread about his exploits in regards to crushing the wildling invasion at the wall. And while there was some who questioned his actions that followed it, they trusted their king to make the right choice when dealing with them. Welcome home, Your Grace. King's Landing is once again proud to have her ruler return once more, said Mace Tyrell proudly in front of the small council with a large smile on his face while seeing their king had dismounted his horse successfully. I thank you for your welcome, Lord Tyrell. How are things while I have been away? Asked Naruto with Mace, and the other members of the small council were also happy to see him. Good, Your Grace. No major problems to report within the city. Varys does have some news we should discuss in the small council chambers, said Mace while Naruto nodded and looked back to see Jon was helping Ygritte getting used to the sight of King's Landing. Fortunately, no one took her for a wildling thanks to the clothing she was wearing did not resemble anything remotely wildling. Northerner perhaps, but nothing that said it was the north over the wall. It will take some getting used to in being here. For the both of us, said Jon, since was the first time he was in King's Landing, so both of them were on equal footing. And I thought the wall was impressive, said Ygritte while seeing the everything around her was amazing in some manner. We can see everything, together, said Jon while Ygritte smirked at him. Perhaps I will, Lord Stark, said Ygritte while Jon gave her a playful look, with the two being assisted with their things being taken to the designated rooms meant for new highly important people. Tell me, what news do you have that requires my attention? Asked Naruto while they walked into the small council chamber. Yara Greyjoy and her fleet have arrived at Essos. My little birds tell me she has reached an agreement with Daenerys Targaryen. They plan to work together to take back the Iron Islands from Euron Greyjoy and his slowly growing fleet amassing there. Yara has even agreed to provide means of transporting the Dragon Queen's entire army from Essos to Westeros when the time is right, said Varys while Naruto grimaced. Damn! Things are speeding too fast. We barely had a chance to open a dialogue with her in order to prevent a possible invasion and war. The barrier that is the Narrow Sea is no longer reliable in helping us keeping such an action from happening at this point in time, said Naruto before he sat down. The good news is it will be quite some time before they are ready, Your Grace. Daenerys Targaryen is currently dealing with the Sons of the Harpy. They feel their current ruler of Meereen and of Essos is one of an invader and foreigner. One they feel is trying to use her position and power to remove several of their traditions. Namely the fighting pits and use of slaves for profit, said Varys while Naruto thinking it over when he sat down. The fighting pits weren't so bad. They were the more aggressive version of Westeros tourneys. They could be modified so it involves less death and more entertainment for the crowd to enjoy. Slavery the world could do without. Still, I imagine it will take some time to get this issue resolved on her own, so we do have time, said Naruto before he was handed a sealed letter sent by Daenerys. She sent us that for your eyes to read, said Varys while Naruto broke the seal and read its contents. Dear Naruto of House Baratheon, if you are reading this message, it means you now know I am no doubt curious as to your offer for a potential alliance between us. Not just with our houses, but our shared status of being of royal blood. Your exploits since becoming king have reached my ears and I admit you have impressed me. You helped end a war, kill the conspirators behind it, and made the Seven Kingdoms a place worth living in. I wish to consider this alliance with you in the hopes the two of us can work together to benefit the realms of men as a whole. Not just here in Essos or the Seven Kingdoms in Westeros. My advisors speak your name with respect and fear. Your time in Essos before my arrival is still well known and they still speak your name in reference to the fighting pits. Given your past exploits and the fact you are an honorable man of sorts, I wish to communicate with you further. I look forward to hearing from you. Queen Daenerys Targaryen Stormborn. When was this sent? Asked Naruto curiously to Varys before handing the Master of Whispers the message. From what my little birds have told me in time with receiving this, I would say around the time Yara Greyjoy and her fleet were getting near the city of Meereen's port where Daenerys has made her capital. If I were a betting man, which I am not, I would say Yara Greyjoy was able to speak to Daenerys Targaryen first, before she wrote that message, Your Grace. I would even presume to say this was written with confidence despite what clearly sailed into her port. No doubt the deal was finalized and Daenerys Targaryen now has the making of a fleet or the start of one-to-one-day sail for Westeros, said Varys with Naruto sighing. This could be a problem if we have to fight two Greyjoy fleets, Your Grace. I never was one for numbers, but two fleets against one is never good, said Lord Davos Seaworth. True, but that is only if the two fleets against our one are allied against us. From what I recall, this Yara Greyjoy left when her uncle came back to the Iron Islands, correct? He killed her father? His brother? A kinslayer no less. I would say that makes both Greyjoys enemies to each other. And since one is now an ally of the Targaryen woman, it might change the odds in our favor, countered Tyrion while Naruto nodded. He's not wrong, Your Grace. If Daenerys Targaryen herself is against this Euron Greyjoy and his fleet, we might be able to join forces to repel them, said Mace Tyrell with the king nodding. How many ships does Euron Greyjoy have right now? Asked Naruto while hoping to get some estimate on what he was dealing with. As of today, Your Grace? Several hundred ships. My birds say Euron Greyjoy is aiming to make 1,000. Fortunately, he is not near his goal nor does he have the numbers to man that many at the moment, said Varys with Naruto nodding, but still concerned. Not yet, he doesn't. He'll use a fraction of those ships to plunder and enslave people in the process. If we don't take care of him soon, the fleet amassed by him will be too much for us to handle, said Naruto while knowing if they let this issue go now, it would come back to bite them in the ass later. What do you intend to do, Your Grace? Asked Mace Tyrell curiously. Right now, the royal fleet, combined with a few ships provided from several houses volunteering their own, can handle what Euron Greyjoy can command right now. But it is still not enough, correct? Asked Naruto to Varys with the spider nodding. We will need additional ships, Our Grace. Another fleet, if you will, to successfully turn the tide in our favor, said Varys while he glanced at Lord Davos, who also nodded. From my understanding, the Ironborn are masters of using ships, Your Grace. Even if we match them ship for ship, their skills in using them are almost unmatched by anyone else in the Seven Kingdoms, said Lord Davos Seaworth. Which is why we need additional ships to put the odds in our favor. Not to mention the skilled crew for each ship to match those of the Ironborn, said Naruto with a sigh. I assume this is where Daenerys Targaryen comes in with Yara Greyjoy's fleet, Your Grace, asked Varys with Naruto nodding. It does. Varys, you have birds in Meereen and the free cities of Essos. Use them to find the sons of the Harpy. Names, places they meet, and their plans for Daenerys Targaryen in trying to kill her. Make sure they get all of it to her. We help remove her problems, she helps remove ours when the time comes to deal with Euron and his fleet, said Naruto while Varys nodding in agreement. I will let my little birds know, said Varys with a nod. Now, on to less annoying business. What has happened with Lisa Arryn and her bastard son Robin while I was away? We didn't even make it halfway to the Red Keep and I hear rumors in the streets. Why? Asked Naruto with Mace Tyrell shifting uncomfortably. We apologize, Your Grace. The woman was clearly filled with madness. She went into a rage one day after being calm for about a week. She somehow managed to get out of her cell, free her son, and was chased after by the city watch along with some Kingsguard for good measure, said Mace Tyrell with Naruto nodding and glancing from him to his uncle Tyrion. I trust they got nowhere near Shireen or Gendry, asked Naruto Tyrion nodding. I doubled the guards for both of them the moment I heard Lisa Arryn got out of her cell in the belief she may come after them. Not that it mattered in the end. The woman leaped out of a window with her son to their deaths. Apparently, the crazed woman spouted some madness about how she and Robin would see Peter in the heavens despite the realms of men conspiring against them, said Tyrion with Naruto grimacing. I humbly apologize for allow this to happen on my watch, Your Grace. I will take full responsibility for this, said Mace Tyrell while Naruto waved it off. It is fine, Lord Tyrell. In truth, Lady Lisa was going to be executed for her crimes while her son was going to be sent to the wall. Given how the boy was said to act like a spoiled child, it would have been a fate worse than death. Send their remains to the Vale. Let the High Lords there deal with them. What other matters need to be attended to while we are here? Questioned Naruto while Tyrion produced a parchment. Robb Stark wanted you to have this, but you left for Dragonstone before he could hand it over. So, he sent it to us, said Tyrion while Naruto took it and read the contents within. And sighed. It is a marriage proposal. Between myself and Sansa Stark, said Naruto while reading it over. Honestly. The nerve of some people. Everyone knows you are courting my daughter, Your Grace. You would think certain houses would be more respectful of this and not seek to ruin it, commented Lord Tyrell in a huff at the nerve of House Stark. He does not have to say no to it. I find the best relationship with a woman is when there are multiple women to make things more fun, stated Prince Oberyn while smirking at Naruto, who laughed slightly. Prince Oberyn. Such a suggestion to this situation is highly inappropriate and irregular to speak of during a small council meeting, said Mace Tyrell with another huff since he didn't like the idea of his daughter having to share the king with another woman. On the contrary, we are seeking a solution to the problem of our king still being the most desirable bachelor in all the Seven Kingdoms. He's already courting your daughter, the lovely Lady Margaery Tyrell. At the same time, Lady Sansa Stark wishes to be with his grace through an arranged marriage. And last, but not least, we have a certain dragon queen in Essos, who we might have to arrange to marry our king for the sake of the Seven Kingdoms. All in order to help keep the still fragile peace alive. The decisions. The decisions. Oh, so many decisions. What will our poor king do? Exclaimed Tyrion dramatically and humorously while Naruto just glared at his uncle and Prince Oberyn laughed since it was all true. Qyburn merely stayed silent on the issue since it wasn't his place or his field of expertise in dealing with this, though he felt his king should spread his bloodline around, if only to help one day in understanding the power behind those eyes. He had heard stories about them and what Naruto did against Stannis' forces when they invaded King's Landing. Oh, how he wished to have seen it. The invisible force that sent men armored flying, the black fire that burned the beaches for 7 days and 7 nights, and made the pyromancers from the Alchemist Guild kneel in its presence like they were praising some kind of god. Truly fascinating. Speaking of Marjorie, how is she doing? Asked Naruto suddenly while seeing Mace smile again at the mention of his daughter. She is quite happy, Your Grace. She has missed you terribly. Praying every night for your safe return. No doubt my daughter will be pleased to see you once more soon right after this meeting, said Mace while Naruto nodded and ignored the 3 knowing looks sent his way on how Marjorie would welcome the king home, or what she would do when the two were alone in private. Tyrion and Prince Oberyn had already suspected what those two would be doing involved being together, both on their knees, and indeed praising the Seven. But the activity involved behind it? It would not be praying to the Seven. I will go see her at once. The sooner Lady Marjorie sees me alive and breathing, the sooner her worries will fade, said Naruto with Mace smiling and nodding. Not to mention the sooner you can fuck her to your heart's content, thought Tyrion and Prince Oberyn at the same time. As if prophesying things to come, no sooner had Naruto ended the meeting did Marjorie Tyrell open the door to the small council room, and saw the king rising from his chair. She smiled at him and openly hugged him with loving affection, which he returned in full force while ignoring the knowing looks from certain people. Namely from the dwarf, the eunuch, and, in the king's mind, the royal prick from Dorne. You have returned, my love. I have missed you deeply, said Marjorie while happy he had returned. As I have missed you, my lady. Come. Let's go spend some much-needed quality time together away from the realm of politics and men, said Naruto with a smile while he saw Marjorie incredibly happy to hear that. I would love to do that, said Marjorie with excitement clear in her voice, but only the young lady's father seemed oblivious behind why. Though in this case with Mace Tyrell, ignorance being bliss was probably for the best. Red Keep King's quarters. The sound of flesh smacking against flesh echoed in the room. The gasps of and cries of pleasure joining in the gaps of those sounds. They had been at it for the last few hours, taking a few breaks to catch their breaths, drink some wine, and eat some food to regain their lost strength. They had been discreet, of course, given their stations were not bound together in a union of marriage. At least not yet. The woman cried out as release came for what felt like the 6th time today, her voice muffled by the kiss the man from behind was giving. She could feel his own seed, his essence, pouring into her body, her womb, and deep down the woman knew a child was going to be conceived today through their union. Provided, of course, she didn't drink any moon tea. Personally, Marjorie thought there wasn't enough moon tea in all the 7 kingdoms from stopping the potency of the king's seed from impregnating her. By the gods old and new, this never gets boring, gasped Marjorie after they decided to rest again to regain their strength. Damn right it doesn't. Not when I have you here to make it all the more enjoyable, said Naruto while holding her close from behind on the bed. I will be pregnant from our time together today. No amount of moon tea will prevent it from happening, warned Marjorie, knowing that if they didn't get married, the child would be born a bastard until Naruto legitimized him. I know. I don't want you to drink the stuff anyway. I want a child. A child with you. My love. My woman. My queen, said Naruto while Marjorie's eyes widened and looked back at him. Your queen? Does this mean you wish to marry me? Asked Marjorie hopefully. If I didn't, would I be with you now? Holding you? Kissing you? Fucking you? Asked Naruto with a grin on his face, and Marjorie smacked his arm draped over her body. My grandmother was right to be worried about me. I'm in the arms of a savage beast of a man with an incredibly powerful sexual appetite. Whatever shall I do? Asked Marjorie in mocking fashion, before she moaned in pleasure when feeling a certain part of Naruto harden and enter her yet again. Personally? I suggest you enjoy the feeling of me fucking you like this, said Naruto, as he began to start up with her again, and had every intention of tiring Marjorie out. Again. Hours later. I don't think I can take any more. I'm so exhausted. I feel like I could fall asleep any moment now, whispered Marjorie while she lay in her future husband's arms. Well, we did go at it for quite some time, my dear. Is it any wonder you are exhausted from laying with me? Commented Naruto while Marjorie hummed and enjoyed the feeling of him stroking her hair. Does this mean no arranged marriage between you and Daenerys? Or one with the Stark girl? Asked Marjorie with Naruto sighing, knowing who told her about the last one. Your father shouldn't be telling you these things. At least until we are married and you are queen, said Naruto while making a mental note to tell Mace to keep his mouth shut and not tell Marjorie things until she is queen. That wasn't exactly a no, commented Marjorie while Naruto let out another sigh. If I married Sansa, she would be a queen. Our marriage would help bind the North to the crown once more. Like it or not, the North is the largest of all the 7 kingdoms put together, said Naruto while Marjorie hummed. I see, said Marjorie, knowing the desire for the North to break away had not fully left those residing there. Especially after what Cersei and her bastard son Joffrey did to Ned Stark. On the other hand, if I married Daenerys Targaryen, I would be uniting all the houses in the 7 kingdoms together. I will no longer be the son of the usurper, as I know some of the loyal houses to the Targaryen royal family have called me in secret. Our marriage would ensure there is no future war between us. No threat of her army and 3 dragons attacking the 7 kingdoms to take back the Iron Throne from me, said Naruto, as he knew marrying either woman benefited the 7 kingdoms. And marrying me? Asked Marjorie curiously. Aside from having a loving and caring woman like you as my queen? I would have the backing of the most prominent house in all the 7 kingdoms. A house capable of providing the food and supplies needed for the people to survive the harsh winter that is to come, said Naruto while Marjorie smiling. And out of all these choices, which one would you choose? If choosing one would not cause problems from the other 2 choices, asked Marjorie while Naruto smiled. You, of course. I don't really know anything about Daenerys aside from our brief written correspondences. I know a bit about Sansa, but only slightly, and I'm sure some of the more crueler memories involving my dumb half-brother when she was here still linger, said Naruto while he thought about his future as king. Prince Oberyn seems to be under the impression you should literally fuck all of us into submission, commented Marjorie while Naruto smirked at how crass she was being. He was clearly rubbing off on her. Well, one can't deny that it is one strategy to consider, said Naruto jokingly. The spider seems to think the idea of marrying Daenerys Targaryen is for the best, said Marjorie while Naruto scoffed. Of course, the spider would think that way. The spymaster wishes for stability, and only through marrying her does the realm of men find it while not facing the wrath of 3 dragons commanded by a woman scorned. Plus, the man is a Targaryen loyalist. He hides it well, but the signs are there, said Naruto while Marjorie looked somewhat surprised to hear that. And you let him live? Why? Asked Marjorie curiously. Because despite everything, the spider has proven himself to be useful in my efforts to properly heal the 7 kingdoms after I took over as king. Having Varys either dead or at the wall is not good for the realms. I need him and his little birds. At the same time, I make sure he uses his talents and his little birds to make sure my rule is strong. I don't give him a reason to use his skill against me. I don't give him a reason to side with any other faction or house, but myself. If he were to side against me now, it would only hurt him, and the man cannot afford to have history remember his actions as one of a betrayer to the crown when the king the 7 kingdoms wanted finally arrived, said Naruto while Marjorie sighed. Just for the sake of argument, say you did marry Daenerys Targaryen, or even Sansa Stark in addition to myself, who would be the true queen with the final authority should you not be around, asked Marjorie with a hint of worry. Well, for the sake of argument, say I did marry one or both of them after I married you first. You were already married to me before them. Which means you would be I guess the terms would be supreme queen between the 3 of you, said Naruto while Marjorie smiled and let out a hum of approval at the title. What about the children? Who would be the heir to the Iron Throne, asked Marjorie, since many kings had made decisions regarding that in the past where the firstborn was not king, but rather the 2nd or even 3rd child. That all really depends on the child. Do they grow up to be like me, yet themselves in their own right? Or do they become something dark and cruel? The true heir to the Iron Throne after myself is the one who is as responsible as they are strong. Both in mind and in body, said Naruto while sensing Marjorie was worried about that since she knew any child she had with him might not be considered worthy as time went on. What if she had a child with him and their son turned out like the false King Joffrey? She nearly shivered at the thought. Don't worry, my love. I am certain our child will be strong like myself, but smart like his or her mother, said Naruto while Marjorie smiled again. I pray all the children we have are strong, said Marjorie before she went off to sleep. So do I, my dear. So do I, said Naruto before he fell asleep too. A few days later. There you are, John. How is King's Landing so far with your future bride? Asked Naruto with John looking rather red in the face since he and Ygritte had spent a great deal of time together in their rooms. Namely the bedroom. Fine. Fine, your grace. Ygritte is very interested in King's Landing. The structures, the places, and the people have no doubt made things interesting for her, said John while he left out the part where Ygritte had demanded they break in their new room right away. If they were going to be married and be together, she was damn well going to benefit from the axe that came with it many times over. Good. Just be faithful to her, John. Something tells me your future wife won't be as kind and merciful as Ned Stark's wife should you be with another woman and have a bastard from the act, said Naruto with John nodding before leaning close to whisper quietly. I know the truth about my parentage, Your Grace. Rob told me the truth, whispered John with Naruto smirking. I know Rob did. I'm glad he told you. Does your aunt know? Asked Naruto with John shaking his head. No. Not yet. We wanted to tell her, but, said John while wincing since he knew the woman would either call him a liar or feel a wave of guilt the size of the wall come crashing down on her that could destroy the Tully woman like a giant boulder dropping from the sky. She will either deny the truth given the situation of your birth or the guilt from hating you all these years based on a lie will crush her spirit like a poorly made house in a storm. I understand. If the truth did get out, it would raise so many questions and the answers may not be to everyone's liking when they hear it. So for the good of everyone, we need to keep this a well-guarded secret where only those who should know will be told. Maybe one day, you can tell Lady Stark the truth, but now is still not the time, said Naruto with John nodding. One day, replied John in agreement while Naruto smiled. Until that day, I suggest you get yourself familiar with King's Landing. All the people, places, and enjoy your time here, said Naruto while John smiled. I'll try, Your Grace, said John while Naruto laughed. Call me Naruto when we aren't in a formal setting. All right? Good. Now, I intend for you and Ygritte to have a nice wedding. Something big, but not too grand or extravagant. While the crown is no longer in debt, anything too big will put us in the red again, said Naruto while John clearly felt guilty with the king himself helping prepare a wedding for him. I assume all the high lords from all the 7 kingdoms will be invited, but I doubt many of them will attend. I am a legitimized bastard and Ygritte is, well, said John while Naruto nodded. I know. Still, if I make the wedding grand enough, maybe some will attend. If only for the food and entertainment. I will see if I can get Prince Doran in Dorne to